Good afternoon, I am George Davis.
And I'm Robianne Williams.
In nationwide news at this hour, former Western St. Mary MP Julian Silvera is undergoing a fresh round of interrogation from detectives probing the murder of his wife at their matrimonial home.
The FSC discontinues its claim against a founding member of Stocks and Securities Limited, Hugh Croskery.
The case brought against Mr. Croskery was discontinued earlier today in the Supreme Court. Our client is elated and vindicated.
South St. Catherine MP Fitz Jackson threatens court action if the government proceeds with plans to make Portmore into the 15th parish.
If they proceed and cause what happened to happen, they will meet me in court.
NCB says it's taking steps to improve its ABM and point-of-sale network this holiday season to ensure its customers have ready access to cash.
In news from the rest of the world, Americans freed in prisoners deal swap with Venezuela.
Macron defends a tougher immigration reform as shield.
In sports, Jermaine Blackwood omitted from Windy's 15-man squad for two-test tour of Australia.
And later in our broadcast, in our cover story at 5:35, the Financial Services Commission has discontinued its claims against a founding member of Stocks and Securities Limited, Hugh Croskery. Mr. Croskery's attorney, Peter Champagny, will join us.
Also in the cover story, the government will be moving to regulate virtual assets such as cryptocurrencies as part of attempts to meet internationally accepted anti-money laundering requirements. The Finance Minister, Dr. Nigel Clark, will join us.
In Public Opinion at 6:26, we ask, what's your favorite Christmas tradition? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio and message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide 90FM.
In the nation's business, head of the Jamaica Cyber Incident Response Team, Lieutenant Colonel Godfrey Sterling, and the chairman of the PSOJ's Innovation and the Digital Transformation Committee, Chris Record, will join us to give some tips for shopping this Yuletide season.
At 7, the year 2023 saw some shocking incidents and crimes committed against the nation's children. Child rights campaigner and founder of the Hear the Children's Cry and Youth Opportunities, Betty Ann Blaine, will join us.
At 8, it's Boy Things After Dark with Kareem Boy Things Weathers. All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile, Nationwide at 90FM, nationwideradiojm.com, and on the Nationwide app available on Google Play and the App Store this Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday, December 20, 2023.
News at 5 teasers were brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. Nationwide News understands that the former Member of Parliament for Western St. Mary, Julian Silvera, is at this time being questioned by detectives probing the murder of his wife, Melissa Silvera. This is the second time Mr. Silvera is being interrogated in relation to the death of his wife at the couple's matrimonial home on Old Stony Hill Road in St. Andrew. Despite undergoing a second round of questioning by detectives at the Major Investigative Division on Spanish Town Road in Kingston, our sources say Mr. Silvera has not yet been told that he's a suspect in the investigation. Nationwide News also understands that a parallel probe into how police bungled the handling of the death of Mrs. Silvera is well underway. Mrs. Silvera is the goddaughter of former Prime Minister P.J. Patterson. It was originally reported that she had died in her sleep.
The Financial Services Commission, FSC, has discontinued its claim against a founding member of Stocks and Securities Limited, SSL, Hugh Croskery. Lawyers representing the FSC informed the Supreme Court of the action on Wednesday. Mr. Croskery's attorney, King's Counsel Peter Champagny, confirmed the development.
I can confirm that the case brought against Mr. Croskery was discontinued earlier today in the Supreme Court. The position is that they will no longer be pursuing any claim against him. And of course, our client is elated and vindicated because he had indicated by way of a formal response in the court that his long association with the company at the time, he did not during that period do anything that would have been in breach of his responsibilities as a director and he did not do anything that would have been in breach of any regulatory legislation or anything at all that would warrant any kind of investigation, civil or otherwise.
Mr. Croskery had been named as a third defendant in the suit. The FSC had originally claimed that Mr. Croskery and other directors breached the FSC directives by appointing a trustee for SSL in January 2023. However, KC Champagne says his client was able to prove otherwise.
He had no hand in that. We have no authority where that is concerned. What I will say is that we brought whatever it was at the material time to the attention of the appropriate authorities.
King's Counsel Peter Champagne, attorney representing Hugh Croskery.
The MP for South St. Catherine, Fitz Jackson, has threatened legal action if the Holiness Administration proceeds with plans to alter constituency boundaries in a bid to make Portmore the country's 15th parish. Jackson, whose constituency includes a part of Portmore, has been raising concerns over what he says is the irregular approach being taken by the government to upgrade the municipality. He's describing the move as gerrymandering. On Tuesday, Prime Minister Holiness noted that some of Jackson's utterances on the issue had been dramatic. Mr. Jackson says he only spoke the facts.
I referred to a document provided by his government. I didn't make it up. I didn't give an opinion. I only pointed out the consequence of that action. I only pointed out the process which was being employed and is being employed. And I said elsewhere, and I repeat it here, if they proceed and cause what happened to happen, they will meet me in court.
Jackson has been among the most vocal opponents of the approach being taken by the Holiness Administration to make Portmore the country's newest parish. He says the approach is not in keeping with established conventions.
What they sought to do is to establish a boundary in a corrupt way. And he did not say what Minister Warmington said was not true. So don't take my word for it either. Listen to what Minister Warmington said, his cabinet colleague, and I took it as speaking on behalf of the cabinet. Ask the Prime Minister to respond to that. Who is setting the boundary? Is it the EOJ or is it the government?
Fitz Jackson, the MP for South St. Catherine.
Meanwhile, Mr. Jackson says he has received complaints from constituents about issues using automated banking machines, ABM. He says the government and the Bank of Jamaica have yet to update the country on how they intend to resolve the complaints.
So the problem is widespread, and much similar complaints have come to me for some extended period of time. And interestingly, we see no response from the Bank of Jamaica nor the government itself in respect of that deficiency. And as I said in the motion, it's against the background, too, of banks across the board. One, closing a number of their branches across the country where people would go in to make some of these transactions. And two, the fact that they have been pushing people out of the banking halls in towards the ATM machine.
Mr. Jackson says financial institutions must do a better job of informing their customers when an ABM is unavailable.
If you have, in a similar way, if you have an ATM at point A, say at your studio for argument's sake, people are going to expect that when they come here, they can get the service. If the machine goes down, and machines may go down, right? It's mechanical, it's technological. If it fails, you must be mandated to make an announcement. And it can be done, the technology is there. Could say that our machine at such a location is out, and we are, regularly we are seeking to repair it and get it back quickly. As soon as it's back and up, you will be so advised. I think JPS does that when there's a power outage.
Yes. So you want more responsive service delivery from the banks.
Indeed.
Fitz Jackson, Member of Parliament for Southern St. Catherine.
Meanwhile, the National Commercial Bank NCB says it's taking steps to ensure its ABM are in good order throughout the holiday season. NCB says their improvements will include remote service centers opening on Saturdays throughout the holidays, as well as additional investment into its ABM and point of sale network. It also promises increased security through partnerships with the police and extended branch hours. NCB says 2 remote service centers will be opened at Megamart's Waterloo and Portmore branches. These centers will offer customer support regarding withdrawals and deposits, RSA token issues, transaction queries, loans, and other select non-cash customer services.
4 employees of the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation, KSAMC, are to be charged by the Integrity Commission for failing to file their statutory declarations. A report from the Integrity Commission's Director of Investigations, Kevon Stevenson, was tabled in the House of Representatives on Tuesday. It found that Javon Davis, Dwight McLeod, Donovan Thompson and Cheryl Robinson failed to fulfill their obligations under the Integrity Commission Act for the years 2019, 2020, and 2021. Mr. Stevenson says the 4 were made aware of the failure and acknowledged receipt of said notice. However, they failed to act upon the opportunity to submit the outstanding declarations. The matter was referred to the IC's Director of Corruption Prosecution, Keisha Prince Kamika, who ruled that they be charged.
Managing Director of the Transport Authority, Ralston Smith, says the delayed payment of retroactive salaries was the cause for Wednesday's industrial action by workers at the authority. The authority was forced to redeploy staff in its licensing department after several workers called in sick.
It's been addressed. They called in sick on account of delay in terms of retroactive salary payment on account of the compensation package that was introduced. So what we had indicated to staff is that we'd want to pay the remaining retroactive portion in December, and we are awaiting the funding. Of course, we have written to our ministry requesting the support. That has been delayed, and on account of that, we have experienced the sick out from members of the licensing team and a few others.
Ralston Smith, Managing Director of the Transport Authority. He's expecting that the workers will return to their regular schedules on Thursday.
The government will be moving to regulate virtual assets such as cryptocurrencies as part of its attempts to meet internationally accepted anti-money laundering requirements. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark made the announcement in the House of Representatives on Tuesday. Siobhan Campbell tells us more.
A cryptocurrency is a digital or virtual currency secured by cryptography. Most cryptocurrencies exist on decentralized networks using blockchain technology. The most popular cryptocurrency is Bitcoin. The finance minister says updated international rules now require these types of assets to be properly regulated.
The third thing we have to do is with respect to Regulation 15, new technologies. Jamaica was assessed as compliant with this recommendation in the 2015 mutual evaluation. However, since then, we have seen the advent of virtual assets and virtual asset providers, Bitcoin and all of the other tokens, as by way of example. Since Jamaica's framework has to date not specifically addressed the risk posed by virtual asset providers, Jamaica's rating was downgraded from compliant to partially compliant, which tells you, Madam Speaker, that this is a process that's always ongoing. We have to keep the fabric of our regulations in step with the advancements of the world and new technologies that can allow for the abuse of procedures and laws.
Virtual assets have become fraught with fraud and speculative investments in recent years. One of the most famous examples is the bankruptcy and collapse of the cryptocurrency exchange FTX, which cost investors billions. Its CEO and founder, Sam Bankman-Fried, was later convicted of fraud and faces a potential prison term of more than 110 years in prison. Noting the potential risk of such assets, Dr. Clark says the Financial Services Commission has been tasked with drafting regulations. These regulations could come into force as soon as next year, with the government attempting to fulfill its Financial Action Task Force FATF obligations before its next evaluation scheduled for 2026. FATF recommendations provide a comprehensive framework of measures to help countries tackle illicit financial flows. These include anti-money laundering and terrorist financing.
The FSC, which is the current regulator for this sector, is spearheading the work to draft regulations to govern the virtual asset service provider sector. Madam Speaker, it's imperative that Jamaica swiftly addresses these 3 remaining pieces of legislation, as the window for getting them in place is very narrow. Jamaica's 5th round of mutual evaluation is scheduled for mid-2026. However, the date for submitting its own self-assessment of its own legal framework, of Jamaica's legal framework, against the 40 FATF recommendations is December 2025. So it's important that we get these 3 pieces of legislation passed by December of 2025.
Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
You're listening to the news on Nationwide 90 FM. More after these.
It's my baby's first birthday and I'm having a big party. I've got 1,000 things to do and I have a headache. I took my dependable Advil liquid gels as always. They're strong, fast, and work well for me.
The time by Advil liquid gel is
16 minutes past 5.
Termites and rodents destroying your home or office? Call Rent-A-Kill Initial, the pest expert, at 876-926-4236 for a free pest eradication assessment island-wide.
The temperature brought to you by Rent-A-Kill Initial is
30 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 27 out west in Montego Bay.
When approaching or leaving your vehicle, be aware of your surroundings. This Christmas safety tip is brought to you by the Ministry of National Security.
Continuing the news, Prime Minister Andrew Holness has rejected what he says is the ideology that boosting the country's economy will cause the poor to be left behind. The Prime Minister was speaking at a groundbreaking ceremony in Bournemouth Gardens, Kingston on Tuesday.
There is a sense that somehow building our economy means that poor people are going to be left behind. It is quite an unfortunate characterization that somehow if you are supportive of building the economy, you are not supportive of the poor. It is the greatest trick that has been played on the poor in this country. No government handout can lift people out of poverty. And any government that is promising you to lift you out of poverty by just giving it to you, it is their intention to keep you poor. The only thing that can lift you out of poverty is your economic independence coming through earning through the sweat of your brow, meaning employment, getting your own income.
Prime Minister Holness called on Jamaicans to participate in the labour market as the unemployment rate continues to fall. He also denounced the prominence of scamming among young people.
This year, the unemployment numbers are the lowest ever in the history of Jamaica. It is likely that that figure will get even lower. But with a decrease in unemployment comes an increase in income. So there are more Jamaicans now than ever before who have an income. I want to encourage all Jamaicans to look towards participating in the development of your country by participating in the labour market. Those youngsters who feel that they're going to make it by scamming. Those youngsters who feel that I don't need no job. I can't bother if I go take taxi, go work every day and struggle and bus. I want to encourage our youngsters. There are many jobs out there. Don't look down on any. Get into the labour force. Get an income. Earn your own money.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness.
Regional Director of the Southeast Regional Health Authority, Sarah Errol Green, is renewing calls for families to take their relatives home for the holiday season once they've been discharged by a doctor. This as hospitals continue to battle with an increase in a number of cases during the festive season.
We're seeing more social cases at this time, and we encourage those persons who willfully bring their loved ones to board them out in the hospital until after the holidays. We are facing a challenge now in terms of our bed space, and we don't have the luxury of accommodating boarders at this time. So we're asking those persons who would normally bring their relatives, board them out in the hospital until after the holiday, to try and see if they can make other arrangements to accommodate them.
Mr. Green says hospitals under his charge are already being overwhelmed with an influx of respiratory illness stemming from the cooler temperatures. He's encouraging the vulnerable to take advantage of the influenza vaccines.
We also see at this time an increase in other institutions of persons with respiratory illnesses. So we're asking persons to, if you're asthmatic, then use your pump and follow the instructions of your doctors. We're also recommending very strongly that persons take the flu shot. It is available at all our public health clinics, and we're encouraging persons, especially the elderly, to take advantage of the flu shot. It is free. We do not charge for the flu shot.
Errol Green, Regional Director of Southeast Regional Health Authority, Sarah.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC.
Hose Assembly and Supply Limited, equipping Jamaica for success. Charles O'Connor Consulting Network Limited, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
10 Americans detained in Venezuela have been freed as part of a prisoner swap deal. In return, the U.S. said it had released Alex Saab, a close aide of the Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, who is accused of money laundering. The White House confirmed the swap on Wednesday. Also released by Venezuela is the fugitive Leonard Glenn Francis, known also as Fat Leonard. Francis masterminded a massive fraud against the U.S. Navy. He was detained in September 2022 trying to board a flight from Venezuela to Russia while on the run from U.S. authorities. The deal represents the U.S. government's boldest bid to improve relations with the major oil-producing nation. The largest release of American prisoners in Venezuela's history comes weeks after the Biden administration agreed to suspend some sanctions following a commitment by Nicolas Maduro and an opposition faction to work towards free and fair conditions for the 2024 presidential election.
French President Emmanuel Macron has defended a controversial immigration reform, describing it as a shield. He said the tougher legislation passed by MPs on Monday was needed to cut an influx of illegal migrants. It makes it more difficult for migrants to bring family members to France and delays their welfare benefits access. The vote split. Mr. Macron's centrist Renaissance Party and his health minister resigned. Leaders of a third of French regions said they would not comply with certain measures in the law.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC.
Charles O'Connor Consulting Network Limited, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour. Former Western St. Mary MP Julian Silvera is at this time facing a fresh round of interrogation from detectives probing the murder of his wife at their matrimonial home.
The FSC discontinues its claim against a founding member of Stocks and Securities Limited, Hugh Croskery.
The case brought against Mr. Croskery was discontinued earlier today in the Supreme Court. Our client is elated and vindicated.
South St. Catherine MP Fitz Jackson threatens court action if the government moves ahead with plans to make Portmore the 15th parish.
If they proceed and cause what happened to happen, they will meet me in court.
NCB says it's taking steps to improve its ABM and point-of-sale network this holiday season to ensure its customers have ready access to cash.
My name is George Davis.
And I'm Robian Williams.
You can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app available on Google Play and the App Store. News Next headlines at 6.
I'm advice you don't know Lali Shot and Tali. And I have a message from Bank of Jamaica to the entire Jamaica. Two grand. Hey, if you make change for the 5 grand, 5 grand. Now if you chaffer with a bag of 1,000, 1,000, just use the brand new 2 grand. Bank of Jamaica, if you tell you this, the new notes, don't stress them, wash or bleach them. Don't iron or exposed to each friend. Don't ripen or experiment. Don't crease and don't crush them. Don't bore them, just store them. Hey, from the advice you don't know Lali Shot and Tali. And that was a message from Bank of Jamaica. BOJ, them deaf, them better listen to this. Hey, yeah. I didn't you know them. Hey, I didn't you know them. 50, 100, and 5, 1,000. Polymer notes, and the 5 grand. I didn't you know them, bang. Hey, I didn't you know them, yeah.
Mosquitoes can spread diseases such as dengue fever. Common symptoms of dengue include fever, severe headache, pain behind the eyes, muscle pain, joint pain, skin rash, nausea, and vomiting. If you feel you have dengue fever, visit your doctor or health center, rest, drink lots of fluids, use only paracetamol for pain. Do not take aspirin or other painkillers. Protect yourself from dengue and other mosquito-borne diseases. A message from the Ministry of Health.
Sports at 5 is brought to you by Total Tools. They almost always have it.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. The West Indies cricket selectors today named the 15-man squad for the two-test tour of Australia next month, minus the last vice-captain, Jamaica's Jermaine Blackwood. Blackwood was involved in the West Indies' last test series in July against India, where he scored a combined 59 runs from 4 innings with a highest score of 20, which came in both innings of the first test in Trinidad, which ended in a draw. Kirk McKenzie, who played in the second game of that two-test series against the Indians, has kept his place. He is the only Jamaican in the squad, which has 7 uncapped players: Zachary McCaskey, wicketkeeper Tevin Imlach, all-rounders Justin Greaves, Kavim Hodge and Kevin Sinclair, as well as fast bowlers Akeem Jordan and Shamar Joseph. The rest of the squad are Tajnaren Chandapal, Kirk McKenzie, Alec Athanaze, Joshua Da Silva, Gudakesh Moti and Kemar Roach. Antiguan fast bowler Alzari Joseph will now be Craig Brathwaite's vice-captain on the tour. The squad is due to arrive in Australia December 30, and they'll hold a preparation camp January 2 to 9 in Adelaide, followed by a 4-day first-class warm-up match against Cricket Australia 11 at the Karen Rolton Oval in Adelaide, January 10 to 13. The squad will arrive in Australia, as I mentioned, on December 30, and the first test will be at the Adelaide Oval from January 17, and the second, a paintball day-night contest at the Gabba in Brisbane, starting January 25. The teams will again compete for the Sir Frank Worrell Trophy, named in honour of the legendary West Indies all-rounder and the captain. The first test, of course, I mentioned, will start January 17, and the series, which is part of the ICC World Test cycle, would be followed by 3 one-day internationals and a similar number of T20 games. And the captain of the West Indies T20 team, Rovman Powell, is urging his players to do a bit of self-introspection after they suffered back-to-back defeats against England in the 5-match series. Opener Phil Salt hit a blistering century to guide the tourists to a 75-run win in the 4th game. Of course, it is now set up a decider in the 5th game at the Brian Lara Stadium tomorrow, starting at 3 o'clock Jamaica time in the afternoon. With the series now tied up at 2 apiece, Powell says the players would do well to look back at their performance in the last 2 games in particular.
At first, we have to do some introspection. As individuals, we have to look into ourselves and see if we have done ourselves justice. And if we haven't done ourselves justice, it's then obvious that we haven't done the team justice. So some introspection and spend some time with ourselves over the next 24 hours and see if we can come up with some better plans to fix what's happening.
Powell is also calling on the bowlers to play a much bigger role.
In all the games, the batting have stand up. Hopefully the batting can stand up for the final game, but the bowlers have to come to the party. It's been disappointing for the last few games of how we have executed as bowling group. So Thursday provide an opportunity for us to get that right.
West Indies T20 captain Rovman Powell. Jamaican West Indies batsman Brandon King has moved into the top 10 of the ICC T20 ranking. The 29-year-old jumped 6 places to number 6 in the list. King's unbeaten 82 in the second match of the ongoing T20 series against England would have played a major role in his climb up the ranking. Meanwhile, Nicholas Pooran moved up 2 places to 12. In the bowling department, Akil Hussain is ranked number 6. Alzari Joseph joined 11 with Anrik Nyoke of South Africa. Former champions Liverpool today produced a 5-star performance to grab the last semi-final spot in the Carabao Cup in England. The Reds clobbered West Ham United 5-1 in the last quarter-final game at Anfield. Curtis Jones scored twice. Mohamed Salah, Cody Gakpo and Dominic Sloboszai added further goals.
Ram runs into trouble, big trouble. Zoboszlai! It's a stunner! That's how they play away back into form. A rocket from Dominic Zoboszlai. Jones on the move here. And is that going? Squeezed home beautifully by Curtis Jones. And Liverpool have got West Ham United surrounded now. Cody Gakpo surely now seals Liverpool's place in the last 4 of the Carabao Cup. Jared Bowen, that is class. We'll give him a chance. He will take it. He made that himself. He finished it himself. Salah's after this one. Mo Salah! Normal service resumed in a blink of an eye. His love story with Liverpool continues.
Liverpool now join Middlesbrough, Fulham and Chelsea in the semi-finals. The draw for the semi-finals will take place within the next hour. And that will do it for sports. We're going to be back with more at 6:05.
Sports at 5 was brought to you by Total Tools. They almost always have it.
Hyundai, the home of modern, premium, affordable vehicles. Call us at 876-630-1511. The time by Hyundai is
5:30.
Love, care for, and protect our women and girls.
We are your family. We are your friends. Don't hurt us.
End violence against women and girls.
The temperature by the Office of the Prime Minister is
30 degrees Celsius here in the nation's capital, Kingston. It's 27 in the western city, Montego Bay.
Outperform, outlast. With top performance. Jackhammer. Reliable, full stop, not comma. We have the expertise for drilling and demolition. We have the power tools for plumbers and electrician. Pan select tools, 3 parts and 3 repairs. 3 parts, 3 repairs. 2 to 3 years. Hilton, available at Delta Supply, 106 Hagley Park Road. Call us at 876-302-6111-4. Delta Supply, we service what we sell.
Drive into Christmas with a brand new Hyundai vehicle with no loan payment until May 2024. Yes, Hyundai pays for your first 5 loan payments, plus 2 years free service, 5 years warranty, and 0 processing fees. No more waiting on taxis or hitching rides. Get your Hyundai vehicle with 5 free payments on Duro this Christmas. Limited time offer while stocks last. Hyundai. Conditions apply.
Yes, you. Well, listen to the radio. I have a secret to tell you. You see the My Cash app? It bad. Me pay all of my bills them quick on my phone before my wife can call me. If you check on it, it's easy, safe, and keep me out of trouble. Everybody fi use it. Hello? Yes, baby. Bills paid on the My Cash app long time. One step by day again. Download the My Cash app by Paymaster today. Pay your bills anytime, anywhere with My Cash. My Cash, my way.
My Cash digital wallet product is being tested in Bank of Jamaica's regulatory sandbox.
Let the countdown begin! Beat the clock, hurry up and go buy a Suzuki Tick-Tock. Purchase a Suzuki Vitara, Grand Vitara or XL7 from now to December 22, 2023 from as low as $4.75 million. And drive into the festive season with 5 years warranty, free vehicle tracking, and free servicing. Act fast and beat the clock for this offer. Available until December 22, 2023 or while stocks last. Only at Stewart's Automotive Group, South End Road, Kingston, and Iron Trauma Bay. Everything must go! We're open Saturday, December 2nd, 9th, and 16th. Conditions apply.
We can light up your world with the rays of the sun, putting pure energy in the palm of your hand.
For over 20 years, Fosrich has been putting a world of energy in your hands. Now we bring you big savings with our line of solar energy products and LED lighting. Financing now available for all your home and commercial retrofit projects. Consult with our in-house staff or certified professional engineers for all your electrical needs. Fosrich Lifestyle. It's electric. Fosrich, your energy world.
Get buckets of savings from Sherwin-Williams from November 23 to December 21. 12% off decorative paint, 10% off automotive paint. Purchase 5 gallons of paint and get a paintbrush free. 6 to 9 gallons and get 2 paintbrushes free. And over 10 gallons, get a paint roller set absolutely free. Get buckets of savings from Sherwin-Williams from November 23 to December 21. Available at all Sherwin-Williams paint stores. Conditions apply.
I earn hugs and rewards. I earn smiles and rewards.
Whatever you get from giving your gifts this holiday season is made even better when you use your Sagicor Bank credit card, because you'll earn rewards on every dollar you spend. I earn.
Dad, you're the best!
Use your Sagicor Bank credit card to do all your holiday spending and earn the best rewards ever. Conditions apply.
Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited are authorized distributors of international brands ABB, Omron, STC, Fluke, Festo, and Thomas & Betts. They supply programmable logic controllers, photoelectric and proximity sensors, contactors and soft starters, power supplies, variable frequency drives, and much more. Visit them at 24 Dunrobin Avenue, Kingston, or shop 32 Overton Plaza, 46 Union Street, Montego Bay, or visit their website cleasling.net. Cleasing Industrial Supplies for all your industrial automation and control solutions.
Cover Story is brought to you by Magna Motors. Drive Hyundai with no payments until May 2024. Hyundai.
Drive into Christmas with a brand new Hyundai vehicle with no loan payment until May 2024. Yes, Hyundai pays for your first 5 loan payments, plus 2 years free service, 5 years warranty, and 0 processing fees. No more waiting on taxis or hitching rides. Get your Hyundai vehicle with 5 free payments on Duro this Christmas. Limited time offer while stocks last. Hyundai, Hyundai. Conditions apply.
It's 5:35 and it is 5 days till Christmas. I am Siobhan Campbell and you're in the cover story.
And I'm Tyrone Reed.
We have two discussions this afternoon, but we'll have the first one very briefly. The Financial Services Commission, FSC, has discontinued its claim against founding member of Stocks and Securities Limited, SSL, Hugh Crossgray. Lawyers representing the FSC informed the Supreme Court of the action on Wednesday. Mr. Crossgray had been named as a third defendant in the suit. The FSC had originally claimed that Mr. Crossgray and other directors breached the FSC directives by appointing a trustee for SSL in January 2023. Mr. Crossgray's attorney, Peter Champagny, joins us now. Good afternoon, Sir Champagny.
Good afternoon, Siobhan, and it's Tyrone.
Yes.
Good afternoon, gentlemen, and good afternoon to your listeners.
I understand we can only detain you very, very briefly, so I'll just get right...
I don't like the word detain. I can only be with you for a short period.
That's right.
Well, so let me get right to the main question on my mind. Is this the end of the FSC's interest in your client?
That is my understanding, yes. There was a joint notice of a discontinuance in the Supreme Court today, where it was agreed between the respective parties that the other side would discontinue against our client. And when I say I'm referring to myself as his attorney and Mr. Nico Pagan. They would discontinue, and it was also agreed further that there would be no order in relation to costs. In other words, we were not going to be pursuing, and we will not be pursuing any legal costs or otherwise against the FSC in the circumstances.
I understand that there are certain civil suits that are ongoing between SSL and other entities and individuals. Is Mr. Crossgray party to any of those, or is he separate and apart?
There is one other suit that is currently before the court that involves our client, but it's something that I would not want to speak about because it's before the court presently. But suffice to say that we are very optimistic in terms of a positive outcome for our clients. But beyond that, I know not of any other.
Okay. Thank you so much, Casey Champagny, for that brief but very fulsome update. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're most welcome. All the best for the season to you and your listeners.
Thank you, and likewise.
Okay, we're going to go straight into the next segment. That is with the Minister of Finance, Dr. Nigel Clark, regarding the regulation of virtual assets, plus a roundup, essentially, of the year in review. The government will be moving to regulate virtual assets, such as cryptocurrencies, as part of its attempts to meet internationally accepted anti-money laundering requirements. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark made the announcement in the House of Representatives on Tuesday. A cryptocurrency is a digital or virtual currency secured by a cryptographic method.
Well, most cryptocurrencies exist on decentralized networks using blockchain technology. The most popular cryptocurrency is Bitcoin. You may have heard of it. The finance minister says updated international rules now require these types of assets to be properly regulated.
Well, to discuss this further, we have with us Dr. Nigel Clark. Minister, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, Siobhan, and who is on this afternoon?
My co-host this evening is the very erudite Tyrone Reed.
Good afternoon, Tyrone Reed.
Good afternoon to you, Minister.
I've been hearing that you have your own program now.
So they say, sir.
Huh?
So they say.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Good.
Well, a lot to discuss, Dr. Clark, and very little time to discuss it. But this move to regulate virtual assets such as NFTs and cryptocurrencies, what is spurring this decision?
Well, let's talk about Jamaica's own interest first, right? That having up-to-date anti-money laundering laws and laws that aid in the countering of the financing of terrorism is in Jamaica's own interest, right? Because if we don't have those laws, then it's difficult to take the profit out of crime. And as we know, a lot of criminal activity is motivated by the pursuit of profit. And with respect to virtual assets, if virtual assets are not regulated in Jamaica, what can happen is that, profits from crime can be hidden by use of virtual assets, which provides an incentive for further criminal activity. So it's in the national interest that we have some kind of regulatory framework, as exists in other countries, for virtual assets. And further to that, it is a recommendation from the Financial Action Task Force, which is the globally recognized body for anti-money laundering policies and activities. And Jamaica has a commitment to implement its recommendations. And hence, I mentioned it yesterday in the context of updating the country on Jamaica's FATF compliance.
Minister, I understand that this matter of virtual assets, it is relatively new in the grand schemes of the history of financial systems, but it's not new in terms of it's been quite a few decades old. So what took Jamaica so long to recognize the potential dangers from virtual assets such as Bitcoin, and why are we just now moving to regulate it?
No, I would disagree with you, Siobhan. Virtual assets of the time that we are discussing are relatively new, meaning in the last, several years. This is not a decade old. It's much less than that. In fact, the particular recommendation that we fall short on, and this is one of the 3 out of 40. Remember, the background is Jamaica was assessed as being below satisfactory compliance levels in 23 out of 40 regulations. And now the progress we've made is that we're only seen as non-compliant in 3 out of 40. And one of the 3 is in this area that we're discussing. Now, the recommendations is on new technologies. And at the last assessment that we had, we were seen as compliant in new technologies because, there were no new technologies at that time, back in 2015, that would have threatened our AML regime. But since that time, cryptocurrencies have gained prominence and gained international and global use, including by persons in Jamaica. And that has happened, and we don't have a regulatory framework. And so we need to put one in place. Now, let me say that the FSC, I believe a year ago or 2 years ago, had produced a working paper on virtual assets. It's not that nothing has happened. What I described yesterday is that we need to move from, sort of the working paper, where we are now, to putting in place a regulatory framework that has the force of law. But the FSC would have put out, as I said, a working paper, in the spirit of consultation as we move to regulate virtual assets.
We're up on the break, Minister. So when we come back, we move on to the year in review. You've had a very interesting year, that is 2023. So stay on the line.
Set your table just the way you like it, with those who mean the most. Set your table with Eve, the first family of fine foods.
The temperature by Eve is
30 degrees Celsius here in the capital city, Kingston, and 27 out west in Montego Bay.
Every family is counting on financial stability. Every entrepreneur is counting on the power to grow. Every dreamer is counting on a plan to succeed. And in every success story, it's the first step that counts. GK Mutual Funds, with investments in local and international markets, helps you build your own wealth. It's the perfect start to your financial journey. Visit gk-capital.com for more. GK Mutual Funds, powered by GK Capital and Unit Trust Corporation.
Refrain from overloading your extension cords. This may cause a fire. This Christmas safety tip is brought to you by the Ministry of National Security.
Come take advantage of our late arrival sale at Furniture Land and Garments Collection.
40 to 50% off designer furniture. Loads of living room sets, dining room sets, bedroom sets.
Free island-wide delivery.
Open every day until Christmas, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Furniture Land and Garments Collection, 112 Constant Spring Road near Shortwood Road Stoplight. Your source for the exceptional.
I'm advice you don't know Lali Shot and Tali. And I have a message from Bank of Jamaica to the entire Jamaica. That you know two grand. Hey, if you make change for the 5 grand, 5 grand. Now if you chaffer with the bag of 1,000, just use the brand new 2 grand. Bank of Jamaica, if you tell you this, the new notes, don't stress them, wash or bleach them. Don't iron or exposed to eat friend. Don't ripen or experiment. Don't crease and don't crush them. Don't bore them, just store them. The new note them. The new note them. The new note them. Hey, from the advice you don't know Lali Shot and Tali. And that was a message from Bank of Jamaica. The OJ, them deaf, them better listen to this. Hey, yeah. And the new note them. Hey, and the new note them. 50, 100, and 5, 1,000. Polymer notes, and the 5 grand. At the new note them, bang. Hey, at the new note them, yeah.
It's 5:47 and you're still in the cover story. We have on the line with us Minister of Finance and the Public Service, Dr. Nigel Clark, and we're going to talk about the year that was 2023, the ups and the downs in terms of the Ministry of Finance and his portfolio responsibilities. So, Dr. Clark, the first one on the top of my head is one that I think is very mixed in the hearts of many Jamaicans, the public sector compensation review, and that's including the salary increases granted to politicians and other high-ranking public officials. It was a difficult sell, would you agree, Dr. Clark, to get the Jamaican people, and I don't know if they have accepted that increase?
Sorry, I don't know. You mentioned a couple of things.
I'm talking about the compensation increase for parliamentarians and other politicians.
Well, I don't know. You invited me to review the economy for the year. That was the invitation I got, and you want to jump all the way to May of 2023. I thought the year began in January.
I'm just choosing one simple topic.
You want to go in chronological
That's what you
order?
wanted to talk about. You could have easily asked me that.
No, this is not the only issue we want to talk to you about, but this is just one I've chosen.
Okay, but you talked about reviewing the year. I mean, this is you jump into May. The Jamaica's system of public sector compensation became completely unsustainable in its complexity and in its inconsistencies. We had multiple job evaluation tools used to evaluate the monetary worth of jobs. And as a result, we had a compensation system that didn't consistently value jobs according to the amount of work involved, the risk involved, the requirements of the job, and other metrics that are usually used to score jobs. This was something that was long recognized, but something that no one would really want to touch, because anybody who is seasoned in industrial relations will tell you that while it might be difficult to get agreement during bargaining periods when everybody moves at the same rate, so everybody gets 5%, the entire workforce gets 5%, or the entire workforce gets 4% or 6%. As difficult as that may be, when you have a reform where everybody moves by differing amounts, it becomes extraordinarily difficult because people don't compare with, or don't internalize an observation with respect to the value of the job in the system, in the compensation system. What they do is they compare with other individuals. And that is an inherent challenge and feature of a full-scale restructuring. I would say that this is the first time in Jamaica's 62-year history that we have had a restructuring of the public sector compensation system entirely at once. And there aren't precedents for countries that have done it all in one go. What has happened in other places that they've restructured, this part of the civil service this year, and next year another part, and the following year another part, and done it sequentially. But in Jamaica, given the a weak trust environment that has existed for a long time, such an approach to restructuring of the compensation system wouldn't have worked because we have been there before. Listeners will recall several years ago, a decade or more, a decade and a half, we'd have started a restructuring and started with one group. I believe at one point we had teachers who got to 80% of markets, and then the government couldn't continue. And so we had a situation where teachers were adjusted and every other group in the country was not. So people had that in their memory. So it was very clear that if we're going to do it, we're going to have to, even though there isn't much precedent for it, we're going to have to take the entire thing, the entire compensation system across all of the 40 bargaining groups and all of the many occupations that exist in the public sector and do it at one time. And so this was an extraordinarily ambitious undertaking
and a seminal achievement,
a challenging one,
a seminal achievement for the government minister. One of the things I want to ask you,
and the fact that we actually got it done, and we have a compensation system yes, of course there are tidying up things that we have to do here and there are matters that we're still working on. But by and large, we have gotten it done, and we have a compensation system today that has 16 bands. Right? We had one before that had 325 pay scales, 185 allowances. Today, we have made an investment for our future, and for future administrators to have a much simpler system to deal with, where everybody is aligned to one of 16 bands. Makes it far simpler to plan, far simpler to negotiate, and it is a compensation system where persons will have a much better understanding of what their true earnings are. In a system before, when we had all of these allowances, right, and if some of them are tax-free, some of them are not, you wake up somebody at 2 o'clock in the morning and say, how much do you earn from the government? They could not tell you, and couldn't tell you with any degree of accuracy, because you'd need a spreadsheet to impute the post-tax arrangements of post-tax implications of some of the arrangements that exist.
Indeed, Minister. I know there are other things you want to move on to, but I wanted to ask you this. Given that the compensation review exercise got testy at points, in hindsight, is there anything you would have done differently?
Sorry, repeat that question?
I'm saying, given the fact that the compensation review exercise, it's a seminal accomplishment for the country. I think that is impatient of debate. But given that it got testy at certain points, is there anything in hindsight, looking back at it, that you would have done differently?
I would say it might be too early to to make such a comment. I mean, this is an exercise we're implementing over 3 years. Asking at the end of that period, by implementing over 3 years, what I mean is that we agree up front what the salaries are going to be, but just for fiscal affordability, the salaries adjust in 2022, adjust in 23, and adjust in 2024. And so we are continuing to implement, and I would want to conclude that process before appearing to
do a post-mortem, basically, because it's not right. It's not finished as yet. All right, I can appreciate that. Economic growth, unemployment rate are two of the areas that we wanted to also question you on. The economic growth front, what do you think is the major takeaway? And in terms of the unemployment rate reaching historic lows, talk to us about those two things.
Yes, so we are Jamaica has launched a very impressive recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. It's difficult for sometimes to appreciate, how far we're coming from, right, in terms of the cataclysmic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. And this year, certainly by the end of 2022, Jamaica became the only country in the Western Hemisphere, with the exception of Guyana, that could say that quarterly economic output as at December 2022 was higher than December 2019, which is pre-COVID. Unemployment was lower than pre-COVID, and debt was also lower than pre-COVID. A remarkable achievement for Jamaica. We normally stand out for exactly the opposite reasons, that we are one of the worst performers. And here, in our COVID economic recovery, we have claimed to be one of the best performers in terms of the economic recovery that we have staged across measurements of economic output, unemployment, and debt. So it's something that we ought to be very proud of, and something that we can build on. In terms of growth, we have on a quarterly basis surpassed, quarter, if you measure quarter for quarter, we are ahead of where we were prior to the pandemic on a quarter basis. When you add up the full year, this year's full year should be ahead of the full year pre-pandemic. And now the task is going to be to build on this and to continue to have as long a stretch of uninterrupted quarterly growth as we can manage. Prior to the pandemic, we had the longest stretch of quarterly economic growth in our history. I think it was 20 quarters if you include the last quarter, which was flat. So 20 quarters where we didn't have any negative growth. The longest before that, believe it or not, was only 9 quarters, right? Because our history has been one of, you grow for a few quarters, then you have decline. You grow, decline, grow, decline. That's what our history has been, extremely volatile. With the macro stability, we are sending the signals that we are breaking free from that. And we are entering a period, we started prior to the pandemic, where we can have longer and longer stretches of quarterly economic growth. Before the pandemic, it was 20. So far, I think we have gone 11, if I'm not mistaken. I need to double check that. And the question is going to be, can we surpass the 20 quarters of unbroken growth that we had prior to the pandemic? And that's certainly something that would be great if we can have a even longer stretch of quarterly economic growth than we had before. But let's see.
We're out of time, Minister, unfortunately. But within about in 10 seconds or less, can we ask you what do you see as your high point for this year? Do you have a high point?
Repeat that.
I was asking if you have a high point, right?
It's not about me. What did I say? A high point for the economy?
Or the portfolio in general, what do you think it was
for the high point for the economy? I would think there are several. For me, the performance of the economy in providing persons with income is a big one. We went through 25 years where unemployment averaged 14% between 1990 and 2015. And against that backdrop, that 4.5% unemployment is an incredible result. Employment changes people's lives for the better. The fact that we were able to issue, for the very first time, Jamaican dollar debt in international capital markets, that opens a completely new paradigm for Jamaica, which is extremely exciting. One where we can not only reduce debt, but we can alter the composition of our debt to reduce the risk to the Jamaican economy.
We have to leave it there, Minister. We are way over time. Thank you so very much, Minister of Finance, Dr. Nigel Clark. We appreciate it. Up next, the headlines.
Cover story was brought to you by Magna Motors. Drive Hyundai with no payments until May 2024. Hyundai, Hyundai.
Say hello to peace of mind and goodbye to worry with Guardian Life's new Ultimate Provider Plan and secure your medical expenses in the event of critical illness today. Call 888-367-5433 for details.
The time by Guardian Life is
2 minutes after 6.
Annual eye examinations not only assess your vision but may be life-saving. Eye tests may detect serious health issues that go beyond your vision. Call IQ Optical to schedule your comprehensive eye test today.
The temperature by IQ Optical is
29 degrees Celsius in Kingston City and 26 out west in Montego Bay.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Shalois Michael. The Financial Services Commission, FSC, has discontinued its claim against the founding member of Stocks and Securities Limited, SSL, Hugh Croskery. Mr. Croskery's attorney, King's Counsel Peter Champagny, confirmed the development.
I can confirm that the case brought against Mr. Croskery was discontinued earlier today in the Supreme Court. The position is that they will no longer be pursuing any claim against him. And of course, our client is elated and vindicated because he had indicated by way of a formal response in the court that his long association with the company at the time, he did not during that period do anything that would have been in breach of his responsibilities as a director, and he did not do anything that would have been in breach of any regulatory legislation or anything at all that would warrant any kind of investigation, civil or otherwise.
The FSC had originally claimed that Mr. Croskery and other directors breached the FSC directives by appointing a trustee for SSL in January 2023. However, KC Champagny says his client was able to prove otherwise.
He had no hand in that. We have no authority where that is concerned. What I will say is that we brought whatever it was at the material time to the attention of the appropriate authorities.
King's Counsel Peter Champagny, attorney representing Hugh Croskery. Now, Nationwide News understands that the former MP for Western St. Mary, Joelan Silvera, was this afternoon questioned by detectives probing the murder of his wife, Melissa Silvera. This is the second time Mr. Silvera is being interrogated in relation to the death of his wife at the couple's matrimonial home on Old Stony Hill Road in St. Andrew. Our sources say Mr. Silvera has not yet been told that he is a suspect in the investigation. It was originally reported that she had died in her sleep. Now, the MP for South St. Catherine, Fitz Jackson, has threatened legal action if the Holness administration proceeds with plans to alter constituency boundaries in a bid to make Portmore the country's 15th parish.
I refer to a document provided by its government. I didn't make it up. I didn't give an opinion. I only point out the consequence of that action. I only pointed out the process which was being employed and is being employed. And I said elsewhere, and I repeat it here, if they proceed and cause what happened to happen, they will meet me in court.
Jackson has been one of the most vocal opponents of the approach being taken by the Holness administration to make Portmore the country's newest parish. He says the approach is not in keeping with the established conventions.
What they sought to do is to establish a boundary in a corrupt way, and he did not say what Minister Warmington said was not true. So don't take my word for it either. Listen to what Minister Warmington said, his cabinet colleague, and I took it as speaking on behalf of the cabinet. Ask the Prime Minister to respond to that. Who is setting the boundary? Is it the EOJ or is it the government?
Fitz Jackson, MP for South St. Catherine. Now, Managing Director of the Transport Authority, Ralston Smith, says the delayed payment of retroactive salaries was the cause for Wednesday's industrial action by workers in the Transport Authority. The authority was forced to redeploy staff in the licensing department after several workers called in sick.
It's been addressed. They called in sick on account of delay in terms of retroactive salary payment on account of the compensation package that was introduced. So what we had indicated to staff is that we're going to pay the remaining retroactive portion in December, and we are awaiting the funding. Of course, we have written to our ministry requesting the support. That has been delayed, and on account of that, we have experienced the sick out from members of the licensing team and a few others.
Ralston Smith, Managing Director of the Transport Authority. He is expecting that the workers will return to their regular schedules on Thursday. Now, Prime Minister Andrew Holness has rejected what he says is the ideology that boosting the country's economy will cause the poor to be left behind.
There is a sense that somehow building our economy means that poor people are going to be left behind. It is quite an unfortunate characterization that somehow if you are supportive of building the economy, you are not supportive of the poor. It is the greatest trick that has been played on the poor in this country. No government handout can lift people out of poverty. And any government that is promising you to lift you out of poverty by just giving it to you, it is their intention to keep you poor. The only thing that can lift you out of poverty is your economic independence coming through earning through the sweat of your brow, meaning employment, getting your own income.
Prime Minister Holness called on Jamaicans to participate in the labour market as the unemployment rate continues to fall. He also denounced the prominence of scamming among young people.
This year, the unemployment numbers are the lowest ever in the history of Jamaica. It is likely that that figure will get even lower. But with a decrease in unemployment comes an increase in income. So there are more Jamaicans now than ever before who have an income. I want to encourage all Jamaicans to look towards participating in the development of your country by participating in the labor market. Those youngsters who feel that they're going to make it by scamming. Those youngsters who feel that I don't need no job. I can't bother if I go take taxi, go work every day and struggle and bus. I want to encourage our youngsters. There are many jobs out there. Don't look down on any. Get into the labor force. Get an income. Earn your own money.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness. And those were the headlines at 6. I'm Shaloy Smichael. Sports is next.
Celebrate the magic of home with Ashley Furniture Home Store. Serve up some seasonal delights this Christmas on exquisite dining pieces starting at $129,999. Indulge in relaxation with comfortable lounge pieces starting at $89,999. Enhance your sanctuary with bedroom pieces starting at $118,999. Elevate your space with financing options from 6 to 36 months. Ashley Furniture Home Store. This is home. Offers end December 27. Conditions apply.
As the holiday season approaches, road fatalities continue to be at an unacceptable level. As a people, we must do all we can to prevent further pain and grief of loved ones from road crashes causing injuries and fatalities. Please do not drink and drive. Buckle up front and back. Motorcyclists and pillions, wear a helmet every time. Slow down and be extra careful on the roads, especially when they are wet and slippery. We are on track to enter the new year with reduced road fatalities. But we can do even better. And as Minister with responsibility for transport, I will continue to do my part to stem the loss of lives from road crashes. Let's make this holiday season not only a happy one, but a safe one on our roads. Please, we do not want you or your loved ones to become just a statistic. I wish you a peaceful and safe holiday season from my family to yours.
Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, is a financial reporting firm that delivers accounting and compliance services on time. Call us today at 876-908-0486-7. Email us at clientservices@cocnjamaica.com or visit our website at www.cocnjamaica.com. COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
Waiting on your receivables, waiting to purchase raw material to fulfill your next order, waiting to get paid for goods already sold, 60 days, 90 days, invoices way past due. What if you could be insured for up to 85% of your domestic and foreign receivables, so that if you don't get paid on time, your biggest priority, your business, will not have to wait? Trade credit insurance. Insurance worth having. Credit without waiting. Exim Bank. By helping businesses, we save lives and livelihood.
Good evening with your sports report. I am Alric Swaby. We bowl things off with some cricket as the West Indies cricket selectors today name a 50-man squad for the two-test tour of Australia next month, minus the last vice-captain, Jamaica's Jermaine Blackwood. Blackwood was involved in the West Indies' last test series in July against India, where he scored a combined 59 runs from 4 innings with a highest score of 20, which he made in both innings of the second test in Trinidad, which ended in a draw. Kirk Mackenzie, who played in the second game of that two-match series against the Indians, has kept his place. He is the only Jamaican in the squad, which has 7 uncapped players. Zachary McCaskey, wicketkeeper Tevin Imalek, all-rounders Justin Grieve, Kavem Hodge and Kevin Sinclair, as well as fast bowlers Akeem Jordan and Shamar Joseph. The rest of the squad are Tajnarine Shandapal, Kirk Mackenzie, Alec Atanes, Joshua De Silva, Gudakesh Moti and Kemar Roach. Antiguan fast bowler Alzara Joseph will now be Craig Brathwaite's vice-captain on the tour. The squad is due to arrive in Australia on December 30 and with all a preparation camp from January 2 to 9 in Adelaide, followed by a 4-day first-class warm-up match against a Cricket Australia 11 at the Karen Ralton Oval in Adelaide from January 10 to 13. The first test will be at the Adelaide Oval from January 17 to 21 and the second a pink ball day-night contest at the Gabba in Brisbane on January 25 to 29. The teams will again compete for the Frank Worrell Trophy, named in honour of the legendary West Indies all-rounder and captain. The series, which is part of the ICC World Test cycle, will be followed by 3 one-day internationals and 3 T20 internationals. Captain of the West Indies T20 team, Ravman Powell, is urging his players to do a bit of self-introspection after they suffered back-to-back defeats against England in the 5-match T20 series. Opener Phil Salt hit a blistering century to guide the Tourists to a 75 runs win in the 4 T20 International to set up a series decider in the 5th game at the Brian Lara Stadium tomorrow, starting at 3 p.m. Jamaica time. With the series now tied at 2 apiece, Powell says the players would do well to look back at their performance in the last 2 games in particular.
At first, we have to do some introspection. As individuals, we have to look into ourselves and see if we have done ourselves justice. And if we haven't done ourselves justice, it's then obvious that we haven't done the team justice. Such some introspection and spend some time with ourselves over the next 24 hours and see if we can come up with some better plans to fix what's happening.
Powell is also calling on the bowlers to play a bigger role.
In all the games, the batting have stand up. Hopefully the batting can stand up for the final game. But the bowlers have to come to the party. It's been disappointing for the last few games of how we have executed as bowling group. So Thursday provide an opportunity for us to get that right.
Ravman Powell. Jamaican West Indies batsman Brandon King has moved up into the top 10 of the ICC T20 rankings. 29-year-old King jumped 6 places to 6th best batter. Kings unbeaten 82 in the second match of the ongoing T20 International Series against England would have played a role in his climb up the rankings. Meanwhile, Nicholas Puran moved up 2 places to 12th. In the bowling department, Akil Hussain is ranked at 6th with Alzare Joseph joint 11th with Anrich Norte of South Africa. Now on to football, as former head coach of Jamaica's national senior women's football team, Lon Donaldson, has been appointed head coach of the U.S. Women's Soccer League outfit, Chicago Red Stars. The 68-year-old Donaldson, who guided Jamaica to a historic round of 16 spot at the last FIFA Women's World Cup earlier this year, was appointed in time for the NSWL draft. The Red Stars management says, given his track record, playing and coaching at various levels, Donaldson is the right person for the job at this time. The former Kingston College star is due in Chicago in the coming weeks to help the Red Star organization prepare for the draft scheduled for January. The new season for the National Women's Soccer League is due to kick off on Saturday, March 16, 2024. Despite his brilliance at the World Cup, Donaldson was not given a new contract by the Jamaica Football Federation when the old one expired at the end of September. Coach of Harbourview, Ludlow Bernard, says they'll use the momentum of their first win to continue their march up the Way and Never Jamaica Premier League table. The former champions moved up 1 place to 11th following their 3-0 win against Limehall Academy on Monday. Harbourview will next be in action when they play away to Via United at the Wembley Centre of Excellence on Thursday. Bernard says they have been placing a lot of emphasis on defence.
The emphasis of the last 10-12 days has been on defence. And even when we were free up, I'm still rooting the guys to be in their position, to be working for every single ball. And that's not going to stop for now. So we're pretty confident that we can score goals. Advance is a must.
Ludlow Bernard. In the other fixtures, Portmore United play Limehall Academy, Treasure Beach face Mount Pleasant, Cavalier take on Tivoli Gardens, and Dunby Holding take on Humble Lion. Former champions Liverpool today produced a 5-star performance to grab the last semi-final spot in the Carabao Cup in England. The Reds clobbered West Ham United 5-1 in the last quarter-final game at Anfield. Curtis Jones scored twice with Mohamed Salah, Cody Gakpo and Dominic Szoboszlai adding further goals.
Roma runs into trouble, big trouble. Szoboszlai! It's a stunner! That's how they're playing away back into form! A rocket from Dominic Szoboszlai! Jones on the move here. How did that go in? Squeezed home beautifully by Curtis Jones! And Liverpool have got West Ham United surrounded now! Cody Gakpo! Surely now seals Liverpool's place in the last 4 of the Carabao Cup. Jared Bowen, that is class. We'll give him a chance. He will take it. He made that himself. He finished it himself. Salah's after this one. Mo Salah! Normal service resumed in a blink of an eye. His love story with Liverpool continues.
Liverpool joined Middlesbrough, Fulham and Chelsea in the semi-finals. Following the game, Liverpool were drawn to face Fulham in semi-final 1, while Middlesbrough take on Chelsea. The 2-leg ties will take place on January 8 and 22, 2024. U.S. Soccer has rejected Major League Soccer's request to field their reserve teams in the knockout U.S. Open Cup. MLS clubs have voted to send their teams from the Next Pro, a lower division development league, to the country's oldest competition, which began in 1914. The U.S. Open Cup features professionals and amateur teams, but MLS chief Don Garber had criticized the tournament. Garber claimed it was a very poor reflection of what they were trying to achieve in the sport, while the MLS claimed not sending their first teams to the competition would free up 6 midweek match dates. Houston Dynamo beat Lionel Messi's Inter Miami in this year's final at the U.S. Open Cup in September. The MLS said it is committed to finding a viable solution for the 2024 tournament and is working to find a pathway that addresses its goals and concerns. The Russian Football Union has voted against leaving UEFA to join the Asian Football Confederation despite being banned from European football. Last year's FIFA and UEFA banned all Russian teams from their competitions following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The RFU said it hopes to continue talks with UEFA about returning to European competitions. In recent months, UEFA showed signs of relaxing restriction on Russia's youth teams, but later abandoned plans to reinstate Russia's under-17 sides to European competitions. And finally in swimming, Tornadoes Swim Club ended the year on a high, winning the final swim meet, the Christmas Open, at the Stadium Pool on Tuesday. The Wendy Lee Coach Club amassed 1,178 points, with arch rivals Y Speedos second with 830 points. The Cayman Islands 25-member team finished third with 724.5 points. In fourth was Aquamarine Ripples, 588, while Swimmers Aquatics round out the top five with 357 points. Vice President of the Aquatic Sports Association of Jamaica, Hilary Brown Nixon, says it took team effort to make the meet a success.
It's really quite a monumental effort on everybody's part that really goes into making these swim meets successful, from the officials on the deck to the persons who are running the board to the announcers. It's really a lot of people, and everybody plays their part and was able to bring together quite a successful swim meet. It was larger than some years we've had in the past, particularly last year, well over 400 swimmers, and it's no small effort to successfully pull off a smoothly run swim meet.
Brown Nixon, who is serving her first term as vice president, says she's encouraged that Jamaica can continue to host regional and international meets.
Absolutely. We're coming off of a summer where we hosted the Goodwill Games. That is basically a swimming competition between the member countries of the Goodwill Federation. That was also large and extremely successful. And we are, certainly coming off of having hosted Caribsta in the past. We know how to do this, and it's really the effort of every single person and every single volunteer. But we can do it. We did it successfully this weekend. We did it, and we've done it successfully before.
Hilary Brown Nixon. I'm Alric Swaby, and that's your sports.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612-5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
6:22.
The original wine with the flavor, with little ginger for savor. Gain enough stamina, energy, them love the behavior. You know we drink to one solid like to one. When we drink to one ginger wine, to one ginger wine, to one solid like to one. When we drink to one ginger wine, to one ginger wine. Solid like stone when we drink up a stones. Ginger wine.
Stones ginger wine. Solid. Must be 18 years or older to drink. Drink responsibly.
In the pursuit of consumer protection, skill, knowledge, conduct, and integrity are the pillars of a financial sector we can trust and be proud of. The Financial Services Commission, promoting integrity in the Jamaican financial sector. Play your part. Check before you invest.
Missing persons, may I help you?
Yes, my wife is missing.
Where did you last see her?
In Kemlani Mart. They have huge savings on living room, dining room, bedroom sets.
Really?
And that's not all. There are doors, toilets, tiles, low prices on TVs, fridges, stoves, and more.
Is your credit card missing, sir?
Yes, how you know?
She's still in Kemlani Mart, sir. Go check.
Okay.
I love this place, you see.
Hello, I found her.
Kemlani Mart, you will never want to leave.
Do you or someone you know have a drug, drinking, or gambling problem? Mental health issues or COVID fatigue? Rise Life Management Services offers treatment, telephone counseling, and information 7 days a week from 8:30 a.m. to 12 midnight. Call us toll-free at 1-888-991-4146 and after 4:30 at 876-967-3779. All information will be treated confidentially. Rise, changing lives for the better.
Attention! If you are a member of JPS and Partners Cooperative Credit Union Limited and your loan has been delinquent for over a year, you may be eligible for our loan amnesty facility. Settle your principal amount by December 29, 2023 and we'll waive a percentage of your interest payment. Start the new year right with a Christmas gift to you. Clear your loans and improve your credit rating now. Conditions apply. JPS and Partners Cooperative Credit Union Limited, your financial partner for life.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
And Image Plus Consultants Limited, owners and operators of Apex Radiology.
I don't want a lot for Christmas. There's just one thing I need. Or one thing I need? I don't think it's one thing I need. And I don't care about the presents. I really do care about the presents. Good evening, and welcome to Public Opinion. I'm Roby Ann Williams. Good evening to our friends on our YouTube platform. We invite you to weigh in live in the comments section, as always, on today's Public Opinion. Yes, we are 5 days away from Christmas, counting down, and we're sticking to the Christmas theme. So for Public Opinion today, we're asking, what's your favorite Christmas tradition?
My favorite Christmas tradition is really the togetherness, coming together as a family, everybody finding that time. You know, everybody's busy right throughout the year, and it's just a thing for Jamaicans on a whole. It's a cultural thing where we just come together. December, Christmas Day, everybody helps out, pretty hands-on in the kitchen, around the household, prepare food, talk, during that time. You talk about things that probably would have happened in the past, and just sharing that bond, that unbreakable bond, between persons. So I think that's the greatest thing for me. That's the traditional thing for me that I love when it comes on to Christmas.
My favorite Christmas tradition is shopping, and next one, going to church. More calm, going to church to enjoy carol and the message.
It's another day for me to come and church and this next day. Well, to be honest, me not actually do none of them there, but the baking are the one where me would have said, because me always watch the baking go on. Me not actually do the baking, but me watch the baking and I don't know. I always have to make sure so me clean the tin, and all these things, you see me? But yeah, I mean, I actually do none of them still. I mean, he had shop for gift. Sometimes I never know if you get nobody for gift yet. I wish we could just give the money, you're going to get where you are, yeah, man.
All the above. Love the shopping, love going to church, love picking the gungo. That's one of my favorite things. To help pick the gungo them. So all the above is one of my favorite thing about Christmas. I enjoy Christmas all the while. I think I get the love for Christmas from my mother. She always make Christmas special for us. So we always look forward to Christmas as kids growing up.
There you have it, the views of the people. What's your favorite Christmas tradition? And I heard some of our respondents just now saying cake, the baking of cake. I mean, Christmas is when you have the fruit cake, the baking of fruit cakes and sorrel. And I'm not a lover of Christmas cake, but Grandma always a bake it. Some always a partake in the cleaning of the, the container when the mix up done go on. Yeah, I partake in that part of the cake baking process. So what's your favorite Christmas tradition? Here in Public Opinion, we're asking you on our social media platforms. Let me get to the comments there on Facebook. Audley Phillips says Romar fruit cake. I'm big on that. JJ Max says sorrel, of course. Philip Jackson is saying church on Christmas morning, then the Christmas dinner. And when my mother sent me to the different home of the less fortunate to take Christmas dinner and to see the joy on their faces, that must be absolutely fulfilling right there, Philip Jackson. And yes, church on Christmas morning. Yep, that is a must. Shorna Hart says big feast with family members. Edney Powell says visit my relatives and siblings in Portland and cook up a storm. Curry goat, manish water, jerk chicken and fish. And he's saying, Edney Powell is saying, sadly this year I'm in the cold in Canada. Well, cook up a storm, said we are in Canada, yeah? Natalie Winter says having turkey, fried chicken, and sorrel, among other things. Mark Ranger says none. Absolutely none whatsoever. And that's okay, Mark Ranger, to each his own. Ricardo Portier says by enjoying the holiday is good. Angela Gordon says sorrel and sweet potato pudding. Also, that sweet potato pudding. Yep. Definitely. Foxy on our Instagram is saying food. And me know that is what most people looking forward to. The whole heap of meat. You know? The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different type of meat in the plate. And I don't know. For me, if I see whole heap of food, me don't want to eat it. It full my belly by looking at it. So I like a little serving of each. A little serving of each and everything in my plate. But not no whole heap, no big whack. I don't like see so much food on the plate. Jet Slate says, you know me not have none though. Or maybe I just love to sit back and watch people creating unnecessary excitement about Christmas, including putting themselves in a mountain of debt and then hungry January morning. Well, if I so be the case, I mean, people look forward to this time of the year, and of course, we sometimes do unnecessary spending, but to each his own. On our Instagram, on our X platform, I should say, Sanbella says going to early prayer meetings and singing of carols. All right, and also one from Saeed Bernard. He's questioning if not coming to work is a Christmas tradition. His favorite Christmas tradition, Saeed Bernard, not coming to work. I see you. If you're just joining us, we're inside the court of public opinion. We're asking, what's your favorite Christmas tradition? So far, we've heard the baking of the fruit cake. We've also heard sorrel, the coming together, the family coming together for dinner, the cooking and full belly and we eat. I've also heard church services, but one thing that I know for sure that some Jamaicans may look forward to is the traditional Grand Market night, Christmas Eve. I remember when I was a child, I wanted to go to Grand Market, like, whoa. And Grand Market, I know, like one place, it's like in each town, in each of the town centers, you just go out and you just shop and you just look at the pretty lights, and sometimes they might have stage show and them something there. But Grand Market for me was a tradition growing up. There were some times that my grandmother never wanted me to go, safety concerns and all. But Grand Market on Christmas Eve is a tradition, I believe, many Jamaicans look forward to. Maybe the kids these days, maybe some of the kids these days. And partying. I know that people love to go to the different parties. And more traditionally, you have John Kuno. I'm not sure if these things still happen. And gift exchanges. I know many people look forward to that, especially in the office where you have pixie givings. We had our pixie givings earlier today, and there were smiles. And we've heard about the Christmas fruitcake. I think the Christmas fruitcake is a feature of our tradition. Let me see if I can get to the comments on our YouTube platform. Carlene Smith is saying sorrel. Hameen saying family, of course. Tana Thomas says the household reset. It's a time when we deep clean. The place always seems new and sprucey after. Yeah, man, you take down your curtain, you change sheet on a regular. But for me, for Christmas, you come out with a big spread, the comforter, and you throw it over the bed and everything. So you clean. You do some deep cleaning for real, Tana. That is so true. Charmin Walker is saying Jankono in Ochi already. That is nice. That is great. Stronglink says, you know about soaking the fruits in rum for months for putting the Christmas cake? Yes. My grandmother did that. Mona Smith says, Grand Market too crowded for me. No, too old for them things, a young people thing. That is so true. Bali is saying, as a child, Grand Market was a must for me. Exactly. Those are some of the traditions we grow up on. Grand Market night, and a whole lot of stuff happen on Grand Market night. You just go out and you just enjoy. Janice Skeen says yes, family traditions, get together and go to church. Alright, let's see if I can get in some more. Strong Link is saying you're not too young to know about baking. No. My grandmother bake from before my ban. So I know all of them ingredients and everything to put in the cake. Frank White says sorrel fruit cake, food, visiting family, watching Christmas movies, and sleep. And to be honest, the sleep is what I'm looking forward to most this Christmas. I don't know about you, but the sleep and not coming to work. Anyways, that's all the time we have for public opinion, but do stay tuned for the business report. Season's greetings, everyone.
Public opinion was brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
And Image Plus Consultants Limited, owners and operators of Apex Radiology. Gambling is a form of entertainment and not a way to get rich. For information on responsible gambling, call Rise Life at 888-991-4146. The time by the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Commission is
6:35. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Nationwide's Business Report. I'm Robianne Williams. Let's get to it. Motorists will pay less for fuel when they go to the pumps on Thursday. The state-owned oil refinery Petrojam says E10 87 is to go down by $4.50 per litre. So too will E10 90, going down by $4.50. Automotive diesel oil will move down by $4.50 per litre. So too will ultra-low sulfur diesel. In other news, the National Commercial Bank Limited, NCB, says it is taking steps to ensure its ABM are in good order throughout the holiday season. NCB says their improvements will include remote service centers opening on Saturdays throughout the holidays, as well as additional investments into its ABM and point-of-sale network. It also promises increased security through partnerships with police and extended branch hours. Further afield, a surprise fall in inflation in November has raised hopes that the Bank of England will begin cutting interest rates sooner than expected. Inflation, the rate prices rise at, fell from 4.6% to 3.9% last month, the lowest for more than 2 years. The bank has repeatedly increased rates to try to control inflation, driving up mortgage repayments for millions. But some economists think it may start cutting them in the first half of 2024, much earlier than previously forecast. And finally, in the currency markets at the close of trading today, it cost 155 Jamaican dollars and 70 cents to buy $1 US, 194 Jamaican dollars and 35 cents to buy 1 British pound, and 116 Jamaican dollars and 93 cents to buy the Canadian dollar. That's the business report. I'm Robianne Williams. Good evening.
Welcome to Paymaster. How can we help you today?
Morning, miss. I need to pay some bills and pick up remittance. I can do that here?
You can pay any bills, utilities, school fees, insurance, and microloan repayments. Plus, pay your toll tag and collect PAT and pension payouts.
Really?
Yes! We have over 200 Paymaster locations island-wide. Access our services with Paymaster Online, or you can pay bills, send cash, and top up with the MyCash app by Paymaster.
Thanks! Paymaster fast, accessible, and secure for true. MyCash product is being tested in Bank of Jamaica's regulatory sandbox.
The following is brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister. Applications are now open for the Jamaica House Fellowship Program. Get first-hand high-level experience in the operations of the public sector and an opportunity to support and implement high-priority initiatives of the Government of Jamaica for 2 years. Visit the OPM website at www.opm.gov.jm to apply and for more information. The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Missing persons, may I help you?
Yes, my wife is missing.
Where did you last see her?
In Kemlani Mart. They have huge savings on living room, dining room, bedroom sets.
Really?
And that's not all. There are doors, toilets, tiles, low prices on TVs, fridges, stoves, and more.
Is your credit card missing, sir?
Yes, how you know?
She's still in Kemlani Mart, sir. Go check.
Okay.
I love this place, you see.
Hello, I found her.
Kemlani Mart, you will never want to leave.
Happy holidays from Team Adam and Eve. We invite you to indulge in a relaxing spa atmosphere or gift someone spa pampering this season. Visit us at www.adamandevedayspaja.com for e-certificates or WhatsApp 876-567-2142. Relax, refresh, and respite with us today. We have Christmas packages starting at $8,500. Book a massage, facial, mani-pedi, or hair service at Adam and Eve Day Spa. You deserve it.
If it's in the public's interest, it's the nation's business during Nationwide at 5. The nation's business.
Christmas just got more festive and jollier with Nationwide 90 FM's Plaza Wide broadcast. Join the Plaza Wide broadcast journey as they spread the gift of promotion to all the plazas. Enjoy the vibes of festivities and Christmas spirit when the sound off sets course for shops of Lane Plaza on Thursday, December 21. Tune in from 1 to 3 p.m. for the merriness that the plaza has to offer. Listen and tune in as we spotlight the shops of Lane Plaza, hearing what they have to offer this festive season. Jamaica, stop by and engage with Triple X and Karen Booker. Let your friends and family hear you on the Plaza Wide broadcast. That's a live broadcast during the sound off from 1 to 3 p.m. at Lane Plaza on Thursday, December 21. Only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by Deskel Plus Size Collection, Deskel Decor, A1 Lock Lab and Stationery Supplies Limited, Statement Pieces by Chris, Shay's Wellness Spot, and Kerry K.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's Word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis. Weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of The Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
The Oasis is brought to you by Solar Tech Jamaica. We use the gift of the sun to power our world.
Become Team Jamaica certified to shape the future of Jamaica's tourism sector. TPDCO's Team Jamaica, shaping ambassadors for life.
The time by TPDCO's Team Jamaica training program is
6:42. Good evening. It's 6:42 and you're in the nation's business. But before we get to the agenda, just a update on a news item we brought earlier today. Nationwide News understands that the bursar of the Hopewell High School was shot and killed this afternoon at the school. The crime scene is still being investigated. The police have confirmed the incident, and they also say the principal, who was in the vicinity, was injured while trying to escape, but they say he was not shot and he is being treated. We will have more information on that as we get it. But we move on now to online shopping, or I should say safe online shopping, I think, which is a topic of very serious importance today. With just 5 days to go until Christmas, a lot of people might be trying to get some last minute shopping done in this technological age where a lot of people are buying their perfect gifts online. We want to share some tips for the safe shopping experience.
Now, we're being joined by the head of the Jamaica Cyber Incident Response Team, JASERT, Lieutenant Colonel Godfrey Sterling, and chairman of the PSOJ's Innovation and Digital Transformation Committee, Christopher Rickett. Gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Nationwide at 5.
Good evening and thanks for having me.
Good evening. Thank you very much for having me.
Starting with you, Lieutenant Colonel Sterling, I am an avid Amazon shopper. It doesn't matter if it's Christmas, Easter, or any other period of time. What are some of the dangers that people should look out when they're doing their online shopping, especially around the Christmas time?
Right. Thank you for the question. There's nothing wrong with doing online shopping. The challenge is doing it in a safe way. And oftentimes when we get down to this close to the event or the holidays, we become a little less vigilant in how we're doing it. There are basic things that you look for when you decide to do online shopping. So we try to recommend that persons use reputable or sites that they're familiar with, meaning you use Amazon because you can get pretty much anything under the sun from Amazon. And so you're familiar with it. As such, you should note when things change about it. And you're not just going to a site that you may have heard of or you may have found through a Google search. Additionally, when you seek to use an online platform, you want to look for the lock. You want to look for that little padlock in the corner of your URL tab, or you want to ensure that the URL begins with the letters HTTPS. What this means is that secure socket layer is enforced on the site, and it means your transactions, your transfers are a little more secure than those sites that don't have it. So these are probably the two basic ones you want to look for as far as online shopping. In terms of how you secure yourself, you want to ensure that you're researching what you're buying. A lot of times the return policy for things purchased online is a lot less stringent than if you went into a brick and mortar store. And so this sometimes proves a bit challenging if when you get the item you bought, you realize it's not quite what you wanted. So do the research. It might take a little more time, but it really does work out in the end as you get exactly what you're looking for. Be wary of sites that require you to enter too much data. So for example, a platform that is selling toys, there's absolutely no reason why they need your date of birth or your PRN or anything like that as you try to make the transaction. What should be of interest to them would be the method you're paying by and your mailing address, just in case the payment method doesn't work out. So these are some of the things that you would look for as you seek to use online platforms, especially this close to the Christmas.
Christopher Record, is there anything you would want to add to that in terms of your key tips to stay safe when shopping online?
Godfrey handled majority of the key components. And one of the things that he said is around doing your shopping in a safe environment. So what I'll add is spell it out a little bit more to say, be very cautious with doing any of this type of transaction in any sort of public Wi-Fi scenario. We know that not everyone has has access to amazing Wi-Fi at home, depending on where you're from. So sometimes some people may go into some areas where they have access to free Wi-Fi and they see them set up on their site and they do what they need to do at that time. So just be cautious when putting your credit card information, because sometimes the Wi-Fi that you think you're connected to is not the one that you're actually connected to, right? So that's just a little additional caution adding to what Dr. Sterling said a while ago.
If you could just break that down a bit more for those who believe that, so they can understand, bring it to its logical conclusion. The people can gain access to your information if you log on to certain public Wi-Fi.
So because the public Wi-Fi provided is for general access and general use, whoever is providing that public access may not make the investment to put in all the necessary type of security that's required. They're just providing, let's call it a social good or something free for their customers, versus what you may put in at home or what your business will invest in to ensure that you have a secure connection to the internet. What happens in some of these instances is that bad actors, the cyber criminals, for want of a better word, will go to places that a lot of people come to use free Wi-Fi, and they set up fake Wi-Fi, which is connected to the free Wi-Fi, and then they try to pull off information that you will put in your names and passwords and all of that. So that's something that happens out there in general. And so usually we always recommend to anyone who will listen is do not use free Wi-Fi access to do any sort of banking transaction. So go and post something on social media, selling jokes to your friends, responding to WhatsApp, that's fine. But no, nothing that's going to have you transferring any sort of important information.
Colonel Godfrey Sterling, sometimes you'll see a deal like in your email or somewhere, say 80% off, and then, boy, you say it look too good to pass up, and they're still asking you for your information, your credit card, and etc., in order for you to take advantage of that. What are the red flags that you should really see when someone is trying to either scam you through an item that you really, really wanted, but you should probably be cautious before actually making the leap?
So the basic thing that you want to do here is to do your research. If the deal is really too good, it's probably too good to be true.
It is probably too good.
You need to be careful of that. But if it's a good deal by all accounts on the site or platform, then you want to research the seller before you do your buying. You want to ensure that as part of your due diligence, you try to find a physical address that you can visit or a telephone number that you can call. And, it doesn't hurt to give them a call. I saw this on your site. Is the sale still on? Is the deal still going? What are your return policies? How can I access this? So you're actually engaging with a live human being, and you can take the necessary steps if there are issues with the purchase or after the purchase. Additionally, you want to ensure that you try not to use your debit card, because the debit card is linked to your main account or to an account with additional cash in there. So if you must do that purchase based on the deal you're seeing, use a credit card or use some other platform such as Link or WePay or something that has a limited amount of cash tied to it. And finally, you really want to ensure that you're not so caught up with it that you're not looking for things like misspellings, you're looking for things like the change in the top level domain. So for example, if you're used to shopping at Amazon.com and suddenly it's Amazon.net, don't just gloss over it and say, oh, well, something may have changed. Those things are usually telltale signs that, the platform you're using may be fraudulent or the deal that's being offered may not be there. Additionally, you want to look at what exactly is being offered, the price it's being offered for, and some of the special conditions that are attached to it. And once you are able to do your due diligence, you'll be less likely to make a purchase that will either see the compromise of your information or you're getting duped or scammed because it really just doesn't exist.
And one of the things that, bears repeating, Christopher Record, is clicking on links. Yeah, because a lot of people want to. It's a season of giving, and a lot of people might be sending out. These scammers might be sending out emails wishing that you would click on links embedded into emails that are being circulated to try and scam people. Talk to us about why we shouldn't be quick to click on links.
Oh, most definitely. It is the season to be scamish, right? Just yesterday, I saw on X, the former Twitter, a very popular radio personality post something that she got a message saying her banking online platform has had a trouble with her account, and please click here to put in your name and password so we can fix the problem for you, right? The bank never ever sends out anything like that. Do not click on those things because it is recipe for disaster, right? So beware of social media shopping ads also. So again, now people are just sitting down and scrolling, and as was said earlier, I think Dr. said it and you said it, when all of a sudden there's a massive offer that comes up, they use very innovative marketing, fancy pictures. When you click on that, it takes you to a site that you think you're going, but it's a different site you're going. Another very important thing that hasn't come up yet is we need to monitor our bank statements a little bit more, right? Because sometimes some things happen and we don't realize that a certain activity occurred, and all of a sudden funds might have left our account, or we thought we went to a certain site, we put in our banking information, and then when we go on the bank statement, it's a different name, because as Godfrey said a while ago, there's one little thing that was different. Instead of a .com, it became a .net, and you didn't even realize that all of a sudden you thought you paid $100 for something, but somebody has scammed you out of $1,000, right? So it is massively important to scrutinize your bank statements, and as was said earlier, scrutinize online reviews of those too good to be true offers.
And Godfrey Sterling, when we're dealing with these kind of unfortunate incidents, let's say you ordered a package, whether from Amazon or any other storefront, and when you receive the item finally, you realize it is not in fact what you ordered. What is your recourse in those situations?
Thanks for that. The recourse is going to differ from platform to platform, site to site. And this is why it is critical when you're doing your due diligence that you check what the return policies are, you check what the refund policies are. So if I may just use two quick examples, Google Play is very popular for online games, etc. But once you tie, for example, your debit card to a Google Play account, even if you become a victim of scamming and you change the card, once you activate the new card, it will roll over on your account. So changing the card does not stop the scammer from using Google Play to drain your account. As opposed to an Amazon, where once you click on that cancel or return and you're within the return window, they will honor the return policy. And so your vigilance in terms of that is going to be critical. Additionally, the entities like the Consumer Affairs Commission will be there to assist you, but only if you paid attention to the fine print, only if you are within the window that says that you can return the items you're purchasing. So it really comes down at the end of the day to awareness, vigilance, and just being diligent about what you're purchasing. The community rules, the platform rules, they will dictate what happens. And, you know, as the saying goes in a capital market, buyer beware.
And Christopher Record, I know we're talking about online shopping, but I wonder, the statement that cash is king, I suppose, is still the go-to in Jamaica. But are you seeing an increase in terms of more businesses adopting an online presence in terms of how they move their goods?
Oh, yes, for sure. I do notice that a lot of the traditional players that would normally have people lining up outside their doors are, in fact, adding online presence. It's a natural way of the world. We're going digital. More people are having debit or credit cards. I noticed the lines out of the ATM machines are getting longer and longer. So more people are trusting those platforms other than just simply walking in. Because it's general security we're talking about here. So, you know, trying to protect yourself, you will want to walk with less cash. And so, that method of protection is, okay, let me use a credit or debit card. And so, you know, these folks want to tap into this bigger market. So a fair amount of people are, in fact, adding some sort of online presence, as any business should.
That is head of the Jamaica Cyber Incident Response Team, Jessert, Lieutenant Colonel Godfrey Sterling, and Chairman of the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica's Innovation and Digital Transformation Committee, Christopher Record. Thank you, gentlemen.
And be safe.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Be safe.
More after this break.
Every family is counting on financial stability. Every entrepreneur is counting on the power to grow. Every dreamer is counting on a plan to succeed. And in every success story, it's the first step that counts. GK Mutual Funds, with investments in local and international markets, helps you build your own wealth. It's the perfect start to your financial journey. Visit gk-capital.com for more. GK Mutual Funds, powered by GK Capital and Unit Trust Corporation.
Let's make a deal. Yes, Kemlani Mart is making deals.
Really? Deals like what?
On scratch, dented, new furniture and appliances.
Oh, that's great.
And that's not all. Kemlani Mart has tiles, toilets, doors at crazy low prices.
So I can make a deal on a sofa set?
Of course, and dining room sets, outdoor furniture, ACs and more. No reasonable offer will be refused.
Only at Kemlani Mart, Manor Center and 77 King Street.
I love this place, you see.
The management and staff of Banmark West and Negril would like to extend season's greetings to their loyal customers. Let the peace and the joy of this holiday season be yours now and throughout the new year. So this season, visit Banmark for all your bikes and bike rentals or call 957-0196. Happy holidays from Banmark.
This Christmas, give your family the gift of relaxation with the Singer Family Getaway. Shop from November 23 to December 31 and spend $20,000 before GCT to get a chance to win your family a 4-day, 3-night stay at a luxurious, all-inclusive hotel. Get the best brands of appliances and electronics plus the best quality furniture and make it the best Christmas ever with Singer. $650,000 in prizes to be won. So shop now for more chances to win. Conditions apply. See the website for details. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
It's 7 o'clock, December 25 days to Christmas, but unfortunately the topic we have to touch on now.
You enjoy the Christmas period, I see, Siobhan.
I try.
Yeah?
It's good. You have to get into the season.
Oh, what do you like the most about it? The food?
Everybody would go there. I don't think it's the time to sit down with your family and reflect on the year that was.
Yeah, indeed.
And reflecting, unfortunately, on is what we have to do now. It has not been a particularly good year for children. The year 2023 saw some shocking incidents and crimes committed against the nation's children. Several of them fell victim to murders and other violent assaults. Dana Davey tells us more.
In February, 9-year-old Nikita Jojo Noel was brutally raped and strangled in Kew District, Hanover. A 42-year-old man who was in a relationship with Nikita's mother was taken into protective custody in connection with the murder. In June, the nation was rocked with the news of the attack on 8-year-old Daniel Rowe. The grade 2 student of Brayton Primary School in St. Catherine was taken from school and her throat was slashed. Young Daniel was found along Roosevelt Avenue in St. Andrew by a member of the Jamaica Defense Force who took her to the hospital where doctors fought to save her life. She succumbed to her injuries. In September, the body of 8-year-old Talia Thompson was found in her neighbor's house with several stab wounds. She was also reportedly raped. Talia's neighbor Troy Ellis reportedly took her from her house on Fortland Road in Discovery Bay, St. Anne, and brought her to his house. He was taken into custody and charged following a failed suicide attempt. After failing to shoot himself, Ellis was found by neighbors trying to stab himself to death. Also in September, an 8th grade student of B.B. Coke High School in St. Elizabeth was hospitalized after being beaten by an 11th grade schoolmate. The 8th grader allegedly stepped on the 11th grader's shoes. The young student was beaten unconscious. In November, 2 primary school boys, 7-year-old Justin Perry and 9-year-old Nakoliva Smith, were shot and killed in a taxi while on their way home from school in Salt Springs, St. James. A third passenger, 26-year-old Tevin Hale, who was also killed during the incident, was reportedly the target. Dana Davey for Nationwide at 5.
Thank you, Dana. And to discuss this further, we have child rights campaigner and founder of Hear the Children's Cry and Youth Opportunities, Betty Ann Blaine. Good evening, Madam Blaine.
Good evening, Ms. Blaine.
Hi, good evening. Good evening.
Good evening, welcome.
So, Madam Blaine, they say a society is judged by how we treat the most vulnerable. Your reaction to how the year has fared for our children?
Right. Well, certainly disappointed, angered by much of what happened this year. Those headlines that you read, were the headlines. Can't remember seeing one in any of our newspapers or in the media generally that had good news about children. I don't know. This year, it's it's really been it's not just this year, right? But year after year, it seems to get worse. And this year has been a year, if you want to title it, would be a year of child brutality, savagery, you know, to children. I mean, we've had these kinds of reports year after year, but we've noticed that the crimes are getting more frequent and the type of brutality attached or associated with how these children were killed is quite disturbing and distressing. So, having said that, I just want to say that as an advocate, and certainly my organization here, the Children's Cry, we are extremely concerned about what's happening with our children, and we're going to have to find solutions. We can't go into another year with this type of thing being fed. We were fed on a steady diet of child murders in Jamaica this year. We have been fed. And the headlines that was read a while ago speaks to that. We've been fed so much so that I think Jamaicans have become a little numb to the problem. And there's inertia. People are not, I guess they don't know what to do. But it's certainly not acceptable to us to wake up every week to bad news about our children. It's been a bad year for children. And let me just say this. We're going to have to find solutions. I mean, we're talking the Prime Minister and others about dealing with violence in the society. But we're going to have to find a way to address the problem. What's the root of the problem? And how do we get to the root of the problem? We can't just be spinning our wheels and talking like this day after day, year after year. We're going to have to come together and look at, okay, what are the root problems and how do we fix these problems? We're going to have to do it.
Let me ask you this, Madam Blaine. In your memory, because you've been at this a while in terms of advocating for the rights of children.
Yeah.
When was the last time you would say that Jamaica's children had a good year?
I haven't been able to say that in a long time, unfortunately. And I've been in this business, as you know, for a long time, over 4 decades. It gets worse and worse. Every year it appears when we think, wow, this was a bad year. The year after that is even worse. And again, when you look at how, not just that children are murdered, we've been murdering children for a long time in Jamaica, but the type of murders, the brutality, the savagery. When you take a little one and slash her throat and then throw her out in the street, my gosh, what kind of society is this? What kind of society does that? And so, yeah, I can't remember a year that I can say, wow, this was a good year. We started our work, advocacy here at the Children's Cry. We started 20 years ago, actually 21 years ago. And we started out of a crisis with the children. And 21 years later, now, we still have the problems. And the degree of the problems have gotten worse. So we're going to have to, if we're serious about protecting our children, making sure that they're safe, making sure that the well-being and welfare of Jamaican children are protected, respected, we're going to have to find solutions. And there are solutions, There are solutions. What needs to happen is that as we get into this new year, since it's going to be a new year and we tend to be more optimistic and hopeful, in the new year, that it's a good time to bring the critical stakeholders together to look at how can we make 2024 a better year for children. And I know we can do this. And so I look forward to that. I'd like to call on the Prime Minister to convene a summit for children as a matter of great urgency in January, the new year, and bring the critical stakeholders together, including community people who live with these problems day to day and who have solutions, and let us put a plan together. But I'm not prepared to live another year like this. I'm tired of it. It is very, very distressing, very, very distressing when you see how these children have been murdered and the violence against children. And I will not accept that as the new norm. This has become the new norm for Jamaica. And it's as if we've come to accept it as the new norm.
And Ms. Blaine, you said you've been at it for over 40 years, as you say. So certainly you know where the gaps are. What are those gaps and what could possibly be done to plug them?
Well, let me tell you, the big gap, the huge gap is a problem in family life. I've been saying for the longest time, when you fix crime, you fix family. And I know that is something that if we're serious about, we can do. Fix family, fix crime. The root of the problem, is family life. Children are being born and raised in households, in communities and households that are not conducive to raising children the right way. And I'm not here to criticize, how people live, the physical conditions, although that has to be taken into consideration, where the physical conditions under which these children live. But I'm talking about the violence that they're exposed to in some households at the earliest ages of their lives, little toddlers. And they are not only do they see the violence around them and in some of their homes, but they are victims of the violence at the youngest age. And so we're going to really have to drill down on what is happening in these families. And I think that if the Prime Minister is really serious about leading us to solutions, I believe certainly we're going to have to look at the issue of family life. What is driving this? What's the root of the problem? How can we begin to work with families? I called recently for the establishment of a Ministry of Family Affairs, and I wasn't looking for another concrete building. I was thinking that this was something that could be either attached to another ministry or done in a way that it's not going to be, going to cost us a lot, but that it would be a ministry that would be focused exclusively on rebuilding family life. How are these children? Yeah, I would start with a child and youth audit. I think we need that desperately. We need to know how many children we have in Jamaica exactly. Isn't
that something that will perhaps come out in the census that's being undertaken?
Yeah, but the census is not going to drill down into some of what we need to know. We're going to get some information, certainly, from the census, but it has to dig deeper than that. You have to look at, how when you look at the households, for example, we've been in communities. We work in communities where they're almost inaccessible enough. I mean, we can hardly get to some of these places where children live, some of these homes, because of where they live, the physical conditions of where they live. You get to some of these places, they don't have a door. They have curtains at the front. And then you go inside and it's 4 children or 5 children on one bed.
We're talking broadly, Betty and Blaine, about some of the issues that we need to fix and what are some of the fixes to some of the issues that we've highlighted. But in terms of low-hanging fruit, Betty and Blaine, that we've failed over successive years to implement, what are some of those low-hanging fruit?
This is it.
Right, that we I know we have things in the medium to long term, but some of the more short term ones that we can get some immediate action from. What are some of those things that we can do to turn the tide somewhat in terms of the push to protect the nation's children?
Yeah, well, I can tell you that the violence in our schools is one of them, certainly. I believe we can address that and get good results if we drill down on that. We never used to have so much of that, violence in our schools. That wasn't a big issue. Even a couple of years ago, it has gotten worse. That's one of the low-hanging fruits that we can go after. And it's important, because the children who are exhibiting violent behavior in our schools, the schools know who they are. They go to school, right? So we know who these children are. If we know who they are, they're in schools and we have some information, we ought to know where the parents live. Now, sometimes it's not easy to get that information, interestingly enough. We've had cases where we've had to go dig out the parents out of certain communities because you don't see them at PTA meetings or anything like that. And so the government is going to have to, if they're serious, this is one of the areas that we can fix. Here is what I would do. By the way, it's not all of our children who are violent, who exhibit violence and behave violently in our schools, right? It's not all of them. It's usually a very, very, very small percentage. Some schools, we don't even have that problem at all. And most of our children, here's the thing that's good. Most of our children of school age are actually attending school, which is a very, very good thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we know where to find them. They're in the schools.
Almost universal access at the primary level.
Pardon?
Right, I'm saying we've achieved almost universal access at the primary level.
Exactly. So we can start there, right? And we can identify those children. And then we can bring the resources that we need to bear on the support systems for these children. Find out why it is that these children are behaving violently or, exhibiting violent behavior in school. These children, the violence in the school, the violence is mobile, it's walking, the children are leaving home and coming into schools with a lot of these problems that started in the home or in the communities. But once they're in school, we have access to them. And so I would identify these children in schools. I would work with them, bring all the resources to deal with any kind of problems, whether it's emotional, it's remedial work that's needed, all of these things that can help turn these children's lives around. And it wouldn't be that hard. Let me just say quickly that a few years ago, Hear the Children's Cry did a pilot project funded by a bank, RBTT at the time. We call it Prevent a Dropout Program. And we asked ourselves a question: what are the grades when children drop out of school? We asked that of the principals of schools. And they told us between grades 8 and grade 9 is when they would typically drop out of school. So we asked one particular school if they would allow us to come in and to see if we could do this pilot project to try to prevent these children from dropping out, because a lot of the violence that we're seeing in the society, and by the way, this is another low-hanging fruit, if you will, a lot of the violence you see in the society is coming from the home. But as I said, we have access to the children. So the school said it was okay for us to come in. We went in and we did our research. We asked them to give us the names of the children and all the background information that they think would drop out. They would drop out. They wouldn't graduate that year. They knew who they were, The teachers know them, the principals know them, other staff know these children. Well, they allowed us to do it, and they gave us names of 30 children who they said they knew would not make it. They would drop out. Where we began, we brought 5 powerful interventions to bear on these children's lives. We did remedial education. we brought a specialist in, our own person, that dealt with remedial education, because most of these kids that are exhibiting that kind of behavior are not doing well in school academically. So we brought in a remedial specialist. We did mentoring. We did life skills training. We did career guidance. And perhaps more than anything else, we did parenting. We worked with parents, and we encouraged the parents to come. Well, school was good enough to give us a desk. We had a little desk in the school where we had some privacy. We could talk to students and parents. And we would invite the parents to come in and talk with us. And they did. We would go out and find them.
All right.
Because they're not coming to school. So that's another low-hanging fruit. There are others.
Indeed. If we just to change gears a bit, we looked at, of course, violence affecting children and the fact that oftentimes this violence is being perpetrated by adults. But when we want to look at now the incidents of children who are partaking in fights and violence in the year gone by.
You're talking about children being perpetrators of violence.
Right. One of the things I would like to ask you, as someone who's been looking at this issue involving children for so many years, do you find that things have worsened in terms of the involvement of children in this kind of activity, or it's just that with the explosion of social media, it has amplified it even more?
Well, social media has definitely amplified it. It used to be, and I would look forward to us having another discussion about this, because it used to be that we never saw that kind of thing, that kind of child-on-child violence, student-on-student violence in our schools like this. So the social media has a lot to do with it. But again, I want to go back to family life. As I said before, many of these problems are, when you talk about school and communities, are mobile, and they leave from the communities with these problems and these disputes and quarrels and arguments, and they carry them into school. And they've been fed, these children, on so much violence. They're not only victims of the violence, which is one of the reasons many of them themselves commit violent, they're involved in violent behavior, because they themselves are victims of violence, and that's what they know. But they see in the community, the fights, the quarrels. It's happening inside families. Children and their parents are fighting. They're quarreling. It's when you see these videos and you see these things, it's quite disturbing, because that now has almost become the normal kind of behavior for children. If you have a dispute, you fight, you tear off each other's clothes, you anything you have in your hands, you'll use. And they're accustomed to seeing this kind of behavior constantly. And so this is what we're seeing in our schools as well, that this kind of behavior is, moving into the schools, because it's mobile. And the problem starts in the homes and in the communities.
As you identified, Madam Blaine, this matter regarding violence, some would say that the perpetrators and victims of violence, or children, is just a microcosm of the wider society, which has been quite brutal and growing in its viciousness. Is it something then that it requires a specific intervention on the part of children, or is it just a matter that we must address it at the societal level?
Well, we definitely have to address it, and I agree with you, at the broader society level, because not only are they experiencing and seeing and practicing what they see in their own homes, but then when you talk about social media and then what we see in the general society and here, the violence in the general society, that also contributes to children being perpetrators. I mean, they see the violence. Jamaica, it's a violent society. I believe we're number one now in terms of murders. Am I correct? number one in the world.
I don't think
I believe so.
No,
I believe so.
I'm not certain that that's correct.
I know.
Well, I'm
I
not-
believe we're.
I'm
I believe we're in the
100%
top
myself.
10. I believe
Right.
we're in the top 10, but I don't know if we're
Right.
number one.
Exactly.
Well, I would love to check it, man. I'm going to follow because somebody mentioned that to me. I haven't followed up on it myself. That we have moved right up. But yeah, so yeah, when we live in a violent society, and yes, because we live in a violent society, we'll see children live what they learn. So they'll exhibit the behavior and they become victims because a lot of them are killed by gunfire when there are shootouts among adults, when there are shootouts or whatever, or you come to kill somebody and the children are there and they become victims. Somebody described it as collateral damage, which is such a shame. But the children become collateral damage when you look at the broader violence in the society.
We're running out of
And
time, but Betty and Blaine, I'd like to ask you about the issue of missing children before we run out of time. Have we moved the
thank you.
needle on that?
Yeah, and that's one of our main, we work exclusively on that problem. I have a chart I wanted to read you. We don't have a lot of time, but every month from January till October, which the last statistic we have was for October. Every month we have close to 100 children who are reported missing. Every month.
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. We're hearing you loud and clear.
Yeah, every month we have very close to 100 children missing. And that's another huge problem, I have to say.
So in terms of the situation, in terms of your assessment, I'm not certain if I got that. Perhaps we lost you there for a bit. In terms of your assessment, are we improving on the issue of missing children, locating them, just following up with the advisors when they've been located? Are we moving the needle? How did we perform in 2023?
Well, let me tell you, the numbers have fallen a little. Not sure, because nobody has been able to say it yet. I don't know who is doing the research on this or investigating this. We're not sure why the numbers have fallen, and we're hoping that it is not a case of people not wanting to go and report, because they have to go report. They have to actually physically move their feet and go and report. And so we don't know. The numbers have fallen a little. As far as investigations into these children who go missing, I don't think the police have the resources to do this. When you think of all the other crimes happening and the crimes against children, the more, I don't know, some describe it as the more serious kinds of crimes. I don't know if they have the resources, because when you're talking about close to 100 children every month, it's going to require a lot of work to dig deeper and to do these investigations. And here is where it gets difficult. Sometimes these cases are very fluid. In other words, a child goes missing today. They're out for like maybe 2 days or so. They come back home. Then they go missing again. It happens all the time. And so it's not easy work. It's going to require a dedicated unit of the JCF to work on this problem of missing children.
And just finally for me, Madam Blaine, this wider arching issue of not only missing children, but the other topics of violence and the other abuses, would you then agree with the Prime Minister that we need a dedicated ministry to tackle this, as he put it forward, the Ministry of Peace? Does that mean that your suggestions then align with the creation of that body?
Well, I don't know what he's going to call it. I don't know if he's named it yet. But I am suggesting, I've put it out publicly, that we do need a Ministry of Family Affairs. I think that's pretty straightforward. People would understand that. And it would signal to the country that we are very, very serious about fixing this problem. We talk about peace and love, and we use those terms, and that's important, particularly when we talk about loving each other. But first of all, I'm hoping that something will be created, because we can't continue like this. And I'm suggesting that a Ministry of Family Affairs that would dig deep into the problem of children, starting with child audit, a deep child audit to see where are these kids, who they are, what are they doing, who's looking after them, etc., more than what the census would give you. And to bring in stakeholders, people who, and experts who have been in this business in the trenches, and they have solutions. So I support the concept, and I'm hoping that this will be taken seriously.
Okay. Betty Ann Blaine, she is the founder of Hear the Children's Cry and Youth Opportunities. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Blaine.
You're most welcome.
Indeed. And just to go back to that bit of statistic there, Betty Ann Blaine was sharing about Jamaica being number one. I think the latest data we're seeing shows Jamaica ranked at number 2 and not number 1. El Salvador, I'm seeing on a number of the lists I'm looking at, coming out just over in the 50 plus per 100,000, and Jamaica coming out in the 40 plus per 100,000.
I mean, that might have changed, because I understand El Salvador, due to some very stringent crackdowns, has addressed their murder rate. So we will stand to see. I mean, I'm sure these statistics will
be... the latest one for 2023 perhaps wouldn't be out as yet, though.
Yes, so we stand to see where that stands. She might be right, but we cannot confirm whether she's right or not. Well, we'll take your calls after this short break. The numbers are 630-9371-4 and 618-8255. Come chat with us.
The Watchman. Exploring issues shaping our society, government, and business. Provocative, unconventional. Dr. Henley Morgan is The Watchman.
Good evening. Passion for his advent. Christmas has largely become a commercial and secular spectacle, characterized by shopping, giving gifts, decorations, parties, and a festive mood. Lost is the true meaning of Christmas, which is relegated to a single day, Christmas Sunday, when more persons than usual find a church to worship. One of the reasons for the trend away from the spiritual toward the secular observance of Christmas, I believe to be the decline or cessation of the observance of Advent. Many of today's Christians, especially those of the Protestant faith, couldn't explain the meaning of the word or its practices. The word Advent comes from the old Latin word adventum, meaning preparation, expectation, anticipation of the arrival, usually of an important person. At the risk of oversimplifying, Advent is observed as a time of expectant waiting and preparation, preceding celebration of the physical nativity or birth of Christ at Christmas, which most Christians take to be December 25th. The practice of Advent is not found in Scripture. The date of its origin is disputed among theologians, but is widely thought to have occurred in the latter part of the 5th century. The period of observance of Advent starts 4 Sundays before Christmas Sunday, always between 27th November and December 3rd, ending on Christmas Eve, December 24th. Traditionally, Christians observe Advent as a time of penitence, fasting, and self-denial, a time of readings, teachings, and devotions, as well as the traditional erecting of a Christmas tree, setting up of decorations, etc. Importantly, The liturgical observance of Advent on each of the 4 Sundays preceding Christmas Sunday focuses on 4 words steeped in Christian theology and tradition: love, peace, joy, hope. Alas, much of that has fallen off the Christian calendar. Most churches seem to be content with the commercialization of Christmas. The surest sign that Christmas is coming is when business places begin to put up pretty lights and decorations and open longer hours, and when vendors begin to hawk their wares at bargain prices. The driving motivation for many persons during this season is presents under a Christmas tree, not the presence of Christ in one's heart. I doubt the traditions of Christmas and what we do leading up to it will ever change from what they are today. A time for merrymaking and other secular or even pagan observances. But consider this: there is a second Advent. That period of time is now, when we should be making preparation for the eschatological second coming of Christ. When Christ returns, it will not be as a babe in a manger wrapped in swaddling clothes. It will be as judge to mete out to each his or her just reward. The life we are living in preparation for Christ's return should preoccupy the thoughts of every human as we are swept up in the helter-skelter of carnal Christmas traditions. Let's reflect on and cultivate a passion for Christ's advent. Think on these things.
Produced by Agency for Inner City Renewal, AIR, and recorded in the Jamming Studio Trenchtown, a breath of fresh air bringing change to the inner city.
I earn hugs and rewards. I earn smiles and rewards.
Whatever you get from giving your gifts this holiday season is made even better when you use your Sagicor Bank credit card, because you will earn rewards on every dollar you spend. I earn.
Dad, you're the best!
Use your Sagicor Bank credit card to do all your holiday spending and earn the best rewards ever. Conditions apply.
Need a loan? Need it fast? CashBiz Finance provides loans in a flash. We offer quick loans for emergencies, small businesses, school fees, insurances, and other personal and professional needs. Call us today at 876-816-9942 or 876-446-3671. Visit us at Shop 8 Matilda's Corner Plaza in Ligonier. Check us out at cashbizfinance.com. At CashBiz Finance, loans can be processed in as little as 30 minutes. Walk out with your money at the same time.
This Christmas, give your family the gift of relaxation with the Singer Family Getaway. Shop from November 23 to December 31 and spend $20,000 before GCT to get a chance to win your family a 4-day, 3-night stay at a luxurious, all-inclusive hotel. Get the best brands of appliances and electronics, plus the best quality furniture, and make it the best Christmas ever with Singer. $650,000 in prizes to be won. So shop now for more chances to win. Conditions apply. See the website for details. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming, and Lotteries Act.
It's 7:38, 5 days to Christmas, and we have Errol on the line.
However, producer giving away for free. Her name is Dana Davy. Yeah, just in case anyone is interested.
She's a treat.
Errol, good evening. Errol,
you there?
Yeah, how are you, Tyrone? You on George?
No, this is Tyrone. You
Lowly
don't remember
Tyrone,
Tyrone? Nothing lowly about him, but Tyrone.
Just visiting.
Tyrone and Trevor.
What's up, Errol?
Happy Christmas when you coming, brother.
Thank you, and all the best to you for the holidays, man.
Hear me now. You see this is Christmas here? Can be the nicest Christmas. Money on floor.
Oh?
Yeah. Floor, man.
Nearly 300 million a year.
People get raised up here with the rich. If the money not there in the country, spend, brother.
Yeah, but you know, say come January, people belly are gonna hurt them.
Cause some of them are going to send out the order for them one like them a Santa Claus.
But enjoy it while you have it. I understand.
And January is a marathon, not a sprint.
January is champion season, so put on some. And Christmas have a picnic. Anyhow, Shaban.
Yes.
Right now, you see all who are going to party still have the edge. You see it?
I hear Don Anderson polls put the JLP ahead.
Oh, you mean, man? Then Michael and Joe Wallace now do the good thing, man. Over that back, over that front.
So you're in a good mood. You come from conference and you get good news after conference to going into next year. Early Christmas present, don't it?
Christmas present?
Yeah.
Christmas present nice because Friday I go to my course and I get my little Christmas package and thing. You get me?
Oh?
I hear me. You see conference? Me have a park up on Warp Road up on the China. You know the China place up on Warp Road with the gas station.
Yeah, I hear so the place that pack.
Where's the river?
Park and walk go down, man. How are you, man? Let me tell you, PMP now have to light and tell in the 30s, you know. Because for them leader, the university.
Which is the 2030s you're talking about?
30s, them now have to knock me not 20. You man?
What about those who suggest that's not good for democracy to have one party in power so long? What you have to say to those people? And it wasn't great, sir. It wasn't great at all.
I'll feed them 3 terms, you know. Eh?
It wasn't great. You're agreeing with me that it wasn't great.
3 terms.
The PMP, 18 years unbroken in government, wasn't great for the country.
That much of the country sink down.
So why you want to run the risk of giving one party so long in power again?
Because my party, Nigel, Clark and Oldness, them are the best ever come across. You know, see that, brother? So me have to love my party and rate my party. We are do the whole 20. You get me?
All right, so we hear you.
I'm going to give you a little joke. You see when Andrew step down, you know who we are give? Young Rhoda Crawford.
Oh?
Rhoda Crawford, the fuck Peter Bundy make him have to run like a thief.
You skip over a few people that are in the era.
No, man, Rhoda Crawford. The real time, man.
So Rhoda is your next prime minister?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I heard Rhoda on the platform at the conference. She said she brought greetings from the giant slaying laborites of Manchester Central. It was quite the introduction.
Brother, right now Peter Bundy run from Rhoda and gone next door, and I hear Rhoda say, he better leave Manchester because she had the campaign manager when gone, you know. You get me? Have a good night.
All right, Errol. Before we go to East Central, I see Sure online on our YouTube channel here, spelling my name in a unique way here, saying, "Hi, Tyrone, I need to pick up bone with you as soon as possible." What have I done now? Yeah, I only hope it's not something I've said. But Sure online, give us a call now and let us hear what you have to say. East Central, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Tyrone. Good evening, Mr. Shaban.
Evening, sir. How are you doing?
Doing fine, man. Long time, man. In relation to the gentleman, I was just saying one little thing. Miss Rhoda Crawford seems like she's the performer, which is up to the task. Because last night I highlighted him on Mr. Rogers' show. Yeah. But this evening I wanted to highlight a public servant who had served in the Attorney General Chamber for decades now, and her name is Miss Marlene Aldred. She had come into the chamber from 1995.
She's the Solicitor General, yes.
Yeah. She had come into the chamber from 1995. She had there over a period of 28 now. She had appointed to the Solicitor General in April 1st, 2019. She had worked on a whole wide range of things. She had worked on the Tourism Pension Plan Bill. She had worked on the Road Traffic Act. She had worked on the Fisheries Act. She had worked on the Food Storage and Prevention Infestation Bill. She had worked on a whole numbers of areas consist of legislation. She also advised the members of parliament on matters concerning the Town and Country Planning Act, the Local Government Act, the Beach Control Act, the National Conservation Authority. She had put out a numerous of work. When she had come into the chamber started to perform as well as anyone would expect the chamber to perform, and I am here to highlight her and her good work this evening.
I've had opportunity to hear her interventions during the various joint select committees and other committees, and I have noted that they have been of very good substance, and I support you in that call then.
I am not leaving off Miss Katian Barn or Miss Nicole Foster Pews still, no, but this evening was from Miss Marlene Audrey in terms of the good work she had done within the chamber.
I support you in that call, East Central. Marlene Aldred, the lady has performed beautifully in her role as the Solicitor General. I've heard her comments and the cautions she's given legislators in many of the Joint Select Committees, including the recent ones for I believe it was the sexual harassment. There's also the one that's still on the table, the JTC, Jamaica Teaching Council, and the others for the firearm licensing, Firearms Act, etc. She has given very good direction to our parliamentarians.
Your nice words though, Mr. Tyrone.
If I hear what?
Your nice words now to Miss Audrey.
My nice words?
Words here, yes.
Chevron has eloquently spoken on behalf of us both, man.
Okay, because it has come from the top, and because the chamber has selected with 41 attorney and 38 members of civil servant staff.
So why have you decided to single out for commendation now?
No, it's just a rasta what me do and timely comments, so I can single out you and even next year or Mr. Siobhan in terms of the good work what you have done in terms of journalism. So nobody know whose name would have come up in terms of the good work what they had done within years.
Very well. That is appreciated, East Central. That actually calling out Marlene Aldred for the work she's done. I support that.
All right, and good night, and thanks.
All right. Have a good one, East Central.
Cleveland, you're up.
Yes,
I'm sure you're aching to talk to Tyrone. You don't have to mention my name. You just want to talk to Tyrone.
Not at all. Him can come when I'm on Cliffviews online. How are you doing, Sir Cleveland? All the best to you for the holidays and the family.
And same to you, sir.
Yes, sir.
You know something? Mr. Clark and the JLP government should be commended for taking up such a task of restructuring our payment system in this country.
Years in the making. Very necessary. I say it was years in the making and very necessary.
Yes, man. I work in the system for longer in your life, where you're two of your age.
How long have you been in the system?
38 years.
Oh no, well I'm a little older than that.
Okay.
I can fortunately say that you're right on the money when it comes to me, Cleveland.
You're 30 years old.
I'm well below that. Excuse me. I'm not that old yet.
You've had a.
What did you go say? I've had a rough life. I'm sure our listeners do not agree with me. I do not look my age.
I hear you have some admirers out there. The ladies, I've been inquiring whether or not you're single in Siobhan.
Yes, they must be commended because previous government would have never take it up. They start it and drop it, start it and drop it. So over the years, tell them start doing wage freeze. And that affect my pension this day.
But you know, Cleveland, why they started and drop it? Because they were afraid of what the civil servants would do if they even tried to make any adjustments.
Well, that's it. They break them bad too.
So the government and the Minister of Finance, who finally just said, we're going to bite the bullet and get this done, should be commended for it. There are many accomplishments that Dr. Clark must be properly commended for when he has finished his long service, but that will stand out.
In brave and take it up. And
gather
it's
there's
all
some.
the better for every civil servant today.
It is quite the accomplishment, quite the accomplishment in terms of the compensation restructuring exercise. I do think there are certain aspects of it that if the government had an opportunity to do it over, they should grab that opportunity.
The communication could have been better, yes.
And particularly how they handled the increase to the parliamentarians as well. Yeah, not that it wasn't needed and one never expected it, but how they went about doing it, the quantum over that short period, I think was problematic.
Because I vote them free to pay themselves.
But restructuring the public sector compensation, bringing it down to what, 16 bands?
Yeah,
now
around 16 bands.
And they had how many? Hundreds prior to that. It was absolutely necessary, and it is quite an accomplishment. I think that goes without saying.
Create a hell of a problem too.
It's not just the unions,
Properly.
It's not just
too much of them.
It's not just the unions. The certain things, certain things could have been handled differently, and I think in hindsight, I gather the government officials should be able to accept that.
Yes. See? And Mr. Jackson now, boy, I'm balling like hell.
On which issue are we referring to?
Mr. Jackson, about over Portmore there, spare time I go lose part-time consistency.
You don't believe there is a concern though regarding the border issues over in Portmore with this whole we're getting a 15th parish? I'm not sure when, but
I want Parish to have the 15th parish, and before anybody go say me not to talk for them, now make them know that me have my little spot there and me paying my tax over there.
Over Portmore?
Yes.
Things are going for you, man. You have multiple properties.
You see? Now I have multiple properties, but I have a pay tax over there. I have a thing for that over there. Okay? But it can't turn a parish, and you don't have to wait till you have a hospital or anything. But I think the PNP using over there as them baby,
I saw
and
in
they treat the people them bad.
I saw in the YouTube comment someone suggesting that they should get the people of Portmore to decide, and I sided with that argument earlier until a caller brought to my attention. He wasn't too certain about the facts, but said it was actually Portmore becoming the 15th parish was in the JP's manifesto ahead of the 2020 election.
Yes,
and I did a little research after the phone call ended, and I recognized that the caller was indeed accurate, that is the case. And I've changed my view on the matter because of that. If the JP put it out as a manifesto plan and they were voted in overwhelmingly, I think they should pursue the business. I'm still not convinced that Portmore is
the referendum already.
Yes, I believe so. I don't think there's a need for another referendum. Because the greatest referendum is a general election.
Precisely.
So the fact that they got an overwhelming win at the polls, or whether it was by one, but the truth is they've got no mandate. They said we would do it if we got elected and the people elected them. So, that's how democracy works.
Some of the councillors them in the two councils. One over in the St. Catch and one in the Portmore. You have two of them serving on two councils.
Yes, that needs to be fixed. But what I don't want us to suggest though is that the only way to fix it is by making Portmore a parish. That's not what you're putting forward. Is that the only way we can fix it?
And why they never talk to the people and when they bring on the highway, the toll, and the people them after the pain to come out of them doors.
Boy, that toll was a raw deal, I tell you, for the folks of Portmore it was.
The people them, people there were showing them that, and then I think it got to the court.
Yes, I went all the way to the Privy Council.
Who was on that side?
Yeah, it went all the way to the Privy Council and they didn't win.
You see?
Yeah, but still a raw deal.
They're balling. Every day, the race come, them balling.
Indeed. Thank you, Sir Cleveland. We're trying to squeeze in another one. Siobhan, I made, after I amended my stance on it, a colleague journalist that I have tremendous respect for, sent me a message saying that the JP was rejected by the people of Portmore, though. That's basically the point that we're making. Winning only one constituency, I think, is what the person was saying at the time. I'm not certain how many constituencies. But and I suggested to them, though, that the supermajority of 49 to 14, was says otherwise, and that's how a democracy works.
Well, but I believe the JP has 2 of those divisions in Portmore. You have Terrelong and Robert Miller.
Yes, Robert Miller as well, right. So it wouldn't have been 1. Absolutely spot on there. But, the people of Portmore getting a say, I think, is what some people are insisting should happen. But I think the general election is sufficient.
But I believe they have been given a say, because in
terms of a referendum, I think is what people are asking for, that they get a chance to vote on it.
Richard, evening.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, Richard.
I'm hoping the Minister of Health or somebody close to him is listening, because what happened last Thursday, I was referred to my ophthalmologist to go for KP to join the eye clinic. So I went last Thursday. I get screening, just very quick, but didn't see a doctor, and I was given appointment for 6th of December 2024. You don't know.
That's it, a year.
2024, December the 6th. And I asked, is this the norm? They say yes. But the workers, they're not the type of person who, they have attitude. Let's put it that way. So if you're not getting nowhere when you try to get information from them. So, and there was a lady there who did a surgery a month ago. The stitches is still inside, and he told me she's having problems because it's keep itching her. The minister said that the Cuban eye program has started. So I'm trying to find out, why would I have such a long appointment and then nobody sees my eyes to find what's the problem that I can know? I have to go to a private doctor to get information.
The healthcare system they still need some work done to it in terms of the care aspect and how we deal with people who interact with it. Although I think it's a problem across the public sector, people just don't know how to deal with their citizens as customers.
It's just odd, you know what I mean? And I don't get it, and you very often come across it. And it's not just in the public sector, you know? You see it in the private sector as well. I mean, people just, they take these jobs that require that they interface with the public, and they're not prepared to, you know, be courteous. It's shocking, really.
And that is the part. That is service. That is the service aspect of the public service.
But the question I asked, in 1 year, my problem could deteriorate worse.
Precisely. And you need the information.
Yes.
This, you see, I don't want to suggest that people, this is why you should have insurance, and sometimes you need to go to a private physician. But I wonder what is the cure beyond that when you have a public sector health system that's so overwhelmed that people quite literally, as the health minister has pointed out, die while waiting on service.
Yes, because I heard of a man who died from prostate cancer being put off so often time.
Oh boy.
Well, the point is, I am a taxpayer, and my tax dollar should work for me.
It should.
I don't have a problem using private ophthalmologists, but she recommend why I don't know, and this is something that I don't really like when I'm recommended to the public hospitals, because the way they treat people.
I hear you, Richard. I don't know if I have the answer to you right now, but I share your pain, and these are the types of things that should definitely be, especially when something as serious as your sight. I don't know if somebody would want to wait a year to understand what is happening in terms of their ability to see. That is just dreadful.
Well, we hope the health minister or his team or a member of his team that they are listening and they'll try to reach out to you. We do hope so. All the best. We have to leave it there, though. Hey, perhaps can hold the line and give your number to our producer.
Yeah, I'm getting the wrap up. So, okay, I heard that Dana Davy has your number, and hopefully we can get this sorted out. But
Indeed.
That's where we have to leave it tonight, people. Again, 5 days to Christmas. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks to everyone on YouTube who are now speculating about my age. Thanks
They
to
say you look younger than I do.
Reed, those who are listening in Radioland, or super producer Dana Davy, or Tech Up. She's still super. Give her credit. Or Tech Up, Andrew Glenn Anderson, all of my compatriots in the news and production team led by the capable Cara Powell and George Davis. I'm Siobhan Campbell.
And I'm Tyrone Reed.
Have a good evening.
Good evening.
Taboo topics. Things after dark.
Riveting discussions.
Celebrity news and interviews.
Topics that are